it's your boy Aniki coming at you with another Church of MHA episode. Church of MHA Season 5, Episode 6. My Hero Academia, Chapter 417 live reaction. We take this off because we don't need it. Not for this stream, anyway. So I hope everybody's been doing well. I'm glad we got things started. Let me go ahead and get this posted in the Discord as well as getting everything else situated. How have you been? Give you time to come in because you know how we do when we wait for the people to come through. I am excited because we're getting to the point where my very unpopular theory is that Tomura Shigaraki is going to kind of realize he's the bad guy through all this, which is just going to allow the quirk factor of Awful One itself to go on a rampage. And then he's going to be a giant monster. And then that's when we get the beast battle, and Deku's just got to put it down like a dog. And then Shigaraki would be like, "You're the hero the world needs." You. Except not like that. I just hope you guys know what that's a reference to. You. But yeah, go ahead. So that way, on this fine Thomas's People Day, and by Thomas's People Day, I mean St. Patrick's Day, but we can just call it Thomas Day. From now on, March 17th is Thomas Day. For now and forever. And we got Tiger Blaster and the Madman in here. MK the baby. You gotta say the baby. And we got my daughter crawling around off camera. So there we go. We're cooking. Probably give people a little bit more time to get in before I start the chapter, just to be nice. This well, hello. Hi, little baby. What you doing here? Give me 5. Say, mommy, put a shirt on me so I can be on stream. Can't have a naked baby on the stream. That'll get me demonetized. Plus, we don't jumpstart weirdos around here. Can you touch the top of your head yet? I feel like you can't. That's the thing about baby proportions. They get beer bellies and can't touch the top of their head with their own hands. What up, drone? Yeah, I could do that too. Oh, hold on. I'm gonna see if she does this thing. Usually she doesn't do it, but I'm gonna try to get her to do it. Oh. Oh. Hey, it's little. She used to go every time we would do that, but she won't do it for us anymore. Oh. Hey, Joseph. Joseph Shola. You're not on camera, dude. You can just grab her. That shirt is too big. It's hanging off of her, dear. It's too easy for her to escape. She needs a shirt that fits low. All right. Now I can start the chapter. Yeah, you're good. Good call putting shorts on. New chapter in 14 days. Hold on. I'm fine with Horikoshi getting breaks. Wait, that means there's no chapter on my birthday. Man, I'm gonna birthday chapter. Come on, Hori. Don't do me like that. I don't get a birthday chapter. I'm hurt. Oh well. Guess that just means I get to have fun. Well, this is also fun, but you know what I mean. All right. You a little baby. All right. My Hero Academia, chapter 417, dropping on time this today. Let's get this started. Hi. Yeah. Dancing baby. All right. So we see an explosion of fingers and flesh. And it's just, ooh, wait, that's an impact right there. We see May Hatsume's baby flapping in the wind. What's even happening there? I can't tell what's going on no more. Looks like Izuku Midoriya bulldozed his way into the blob of fingers. Seeing page 18 at the end of this chapter, ooh, yeah, that makes me happy. Let's see. He's in there like swimwear. He's a kicking and a punching. Whoa. Yoichi, Bruce, Banjo, Toshinori. I'm the only one who got repelled. But why? However we got here, Grandma, you can rest assured that I hate you too, with all my heart. Mommy, don't leave me. Oh man. Getting the flashback of Kotaro just screaming for her not to leave. My own weakness is to blame. Number 417, Shimura. Man. Hold on. Somebody get me a skillet. Why we cooking with no pan? It's crazy. Oh yeah, yeah. I know it's only going to be like 15 in the actual chapter, but anytime you see 18, it means you're getting at least 15 pages on desktop. So let's see. All right. And then we see Shimura. Say you learn more what then? Say you expose his past to the light. Will that change a damn thing? That's me through Shigaraki's eyes. I guess he's using that form to chat. I don't know, but letting this in without finding out wouldn't sit right with me. How about you die instead? You will let me in. Truck Coon? Coon Genie? Enter Demon Deku inside Shigaraki tried to summon Truck Coon and Isekai him. Out of the road. Where are your parents, kid? Kid. A physical interaction in this space. You've delved deep into Shigaraki's subconscious. As a successor yourself, your thoughts take solid form here, so you can affect each other physically. 7. I was the only one to get repelled again. I'm sorry. Please don't be. I'm glad you're still with me in this. It's funny because so often I feel like people over Uwu cinnamon rollify Deku, but here he's got like the most Uwu cinnamon roll look we've seen on his face in what? Let me think. Probably since like, ooh, I was gonna say 200 chapters, but that takes us back towards the end of JT. We didn't get any Uwu cinnamon roll for Endeavor Agency. Definitely not during PLW through no stretch of the 300s. So what are we looking at? Like 5 years of material, maybe 6? Because I guess you could give a little Uwu cinnamon roll to Culture Festival. Yeah, we'll say that. So since like chapter 180 or so. Crazy to think about how the early chapters influence how people perceive a character so heavily. Let's see. Think of this space as Shigaraki's core, his origin. Hi. Yeah. Say hi. Hi. Now give me 5. Give me 5. Mwah. Here, hold that water bottle. Yeah, I can fuss too. him at his most delicate and malleable. In this place, he's likely to be fragile. It's here that you can reach out and strike at his origin directly. Right, his origin. That's why you're about to die, Stain. And we see Stain melting away. What burdens do you bear? What do you seek to build? And then we see, because we see Redestro, and then we see it morphing into Overhaul. You got a plan? Nope. Get out of my way. Which I like the fact that he's like Stain, oh, like Redestro is just some dude to him. And then you can see that like the because like I feel like last time we saw Deku interact with Overhaul, people felt like he wasn't as angry because he was willing to save him. But his answer to, tell him to apologize to Eri and the disappointed look on his face should have told you he still don't fuck with Overhaul like that. So here we see like Overhaul specifically comes out and we see like there's a directly hostile expression on his face. Um, and then we see as he throws open the door, you see the photo of Nana Shimura with Kotaro that jump started the hero dreams. It really just made them possible to Shigaraki. It's a secret. So this is grandma. That photo, Kotaro, you kept it. And we see Nana's heartbreaking over this. Let's be a brother and sister hero team, but keep it a secret from daddy. And oh man, that's gotta feel weird. Nana sees little Tenko getting his ass beat and slapped around. Oh, that's tough. Slapping around Tenko. Nobody's happy with this. That silhouette must be Shigaraki. And as he goes to save it, boom, he's getting bounced back. That rejection again. Bouncing me back when I'm a stone throws away. That wasn't your grandmother in the picture. That was a monster who abandoned her child. Right. Of course, he didn't keep the photo because he wanted to. Do you really want to know what heroes are? He couldn't part ways with it. They're people who hurt their own families all along only to help complete strangers. At that time, all that time he just couldn't bear to abandon it. And the scars I inflicted on him got passed down to Shigaraki. If only I could have taken down All for One and gone home to my son. I'm sorry, Kotaro. Shimura, now your mom was weak. Oh man. One of the most heartfelt pages in this entire series. I'm sorry I never made it home to you. And we see Nana Shimura getting to hug the grown version of her son. Even if it's only in a vestige world. It's if only what could have been, right? And we see that final blast going through the core. I'm sorry. Grandma's to blame. I hate it. And you see the crying Shigaraki. You hear me moan? I can't take it. And now Deku needs to be very careful because we've directly stated that the physical can be impacted here. So either one of two things get to happen in this next chapter. Either Deku gets to talk to little Tank Tank and he's going to get to tell him, hey, you can be a hero, and he gets to be for little Tenko what All Might was for him, completing the cycle. Or He gets to witness the death of Shigaraki's family, and from there has to figure out how he wants to try to interact with him and what he's going to do to try to solve it. Hopefully, catching him in the streets and getting there before AFO, possibly creating an alternate scenario where he's not just out in the streets, showing him some love or something like that, or taking on AFO in the Vestige world. That would be interesting because I feel like what's going to happen is we're going to get to that juncture in the story where uh, All for One reaches out to Tunko, and at that juncture, Deku is going to once again end up battling All for One because that's actually going to be the last bit of All for One's ego sitting inside of the quirk factor and all that other stuff. And we're going to see Deku trying to fight him. And if they defeat him there, they kind of alleviate some of the pressure or the control and darkness within Shigaraki. But I think that in the process of destroying that, it damages him. I don't know if it'll completely destroy the quirk of All for One, but as long as the Vestige space is real, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Kotaro isn't wrong to some extent. I mean, the thing is that inherently it is correct that you are taking the risk of leaving your family behind to go fight for strangers. There is no there's other ways to look at it, and like you probably in this society you probably shouldn't center yourself in a world where there's superpowered people going around doing stuff, and like some people should be doing more to help. But I feel like not to throw shade, but I don't feel like Nana Shimura's base quirk is good enough that she should have felt like I'm the one who has to do this. Uh, I understand somebody like Endeavor feeling that way, hey, but oh snap, we're cooking. Since Deku could get hurt here, this could be where he loses his arm to Senko's decay. Definitely possible. Let's see. He took his abandonment issues out on his 5-year-old baby son. Kotaro had deserved every single thing that happened to him. Yeah, like I think it's fair that he was upset. I think, but I don't believe in beating up kids. So Kotaro pushes anger and frustration the wrong way. That's the ultimate defining of the situation, though, is that he could have just stayed angry at his grandma forever or his mom forever, but decided to be angry at his kids. And I guess really what we're watching is him have a PTSD episode every time heroes come up. But I don't think that's a good enough excuse. What up, Joseph? Wait, Joseph, are you here? Hold on. Am I having volume issues? Let's see. Let's see. People in the chat, can you hear Joseph? I want to make sure that if he's talking, I'm having issues hearing him. Oh yeah. Also, I found out I might have a sinus infection, so that's cool. Because I was like, what is going on with my nostrils here? Because my right side keeps like being congested. So I finally I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm gonna pull a doctor's office move. And I shined the light from my phone up my nostrils and realized that the right one actually has swelling. So that's awesome. Hi. Okay. So Joseph, the chat cannot hear you. So if you've been speaking, you're having some kind of audio issue. Well, actually,
I
after
think the
taking
reason you
this,
guys couldn't hear me is because I wasn't on yet.
oh, perfect.
Yeah.
There we go. Also, y'all gonna make me do it. Please like the stream.
Yeah, I was gonna say something in the chat because I realized that I didn't do it yet too, but then I did, so.
Who's my daughter? You are. Do 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 do. This the precious daughter. Give me five.
Yeah, so this was a chapter, huh?
Look, becoming a parent automatically makes all parent things more painful. Uh, you won't be getting slapped around because I didn't achieve my dreams. I'll tell you that for free. But yeah, no. Um, I know that this is something that will cause controversy towards from outside fandom people who are reading the series, and even within fandom people who are reading because of they like superheroes and action more than they like the characters and what they actually represent or what they're actually fighting for. But we've all like most of us, I would like to believe, have always known it would come down to a vestige realm battle of some kind and trying to reach Shigaraki at his core. Oh, are you sleepy?
Yeah, that's pretty evident ever since the vestiges were introduced.
Yeah. And even Nana being the last one, which the one thing that I don't like about this is that I am kind of, which I mean, Aries been stated that she wants to rewind Deku anyway. So I mean, technically, there's a chance that she could, based off of what happened with Mirio, rewind him so that the quirk factor comes back to his body. I don't know if the vestiges consciousness will, but his very quirk will likely be restored by Aries at the end of the story. And while some people will say, "Well, Dragon Ball," like, no, that's different. This is Deku still getting a continuous dream. Like,
Yeah, so I did the conjugation chat, but Izuku was too powerful. He survived an encounter with Truck-kun.
mm-hmm. Which that's an anime feat that tops most feats in any story. Dodging Truck-kun, it's GG. Kinjaku couldn't dodge Truck-kun. Like, so there you go. Hi.
Bob couldn't even dodge Truck-kun.
Exactly. Like most people don't dodge Truck-kun, so Deku having the ability to not get isekai. But maybe you can argue that being inside the Vestige realm is already him being isekai. So you can't get isekai inside of an isekai.
Isekai section. Though I am expecting an My Isekai Academia fic of some kind within the next week. Well, let me just say I'll be kind of disappointed if that doesn't happen.
Hey, and you know what? So my thing is, so I got a question for you. What are you kind of looking at for the next chapter? Because like I think because there's two ways that I see this going down, right? Like we've kind of sped through some of the parts of Shigaraki's childhood on our quest to get back here,
Mhm.
but at this juncture, we've slowed it down. Do you think Deku gets stuck watching the entire sequence of the family getting destroyed? Because since he's no longer being rejected, you think this is a part where they have a conversation with Tenko? Because I feel like this is the perfect juncture for either Deku to get stuck watching the situation and having to avoid getting decayed, only to talk to Shigaraki later, like when he's out in the streets, or for Shigaraki's ego to step forward and for it, instead of it being a battle between All for One and Shigaraki and Deku, it almost ends up like as All for One is walking up to little Tenko, it morphs into Shigaraki because he's the one who's in control of the All for One vestige. And so that's where they have their big conflict over the original core of Shigaraki Tenko.
I could realistically see either one of those happening. Not sure which one I would rather. I mean, I kind of like the idea that, like, even in this realm, Izuku's like powerless to stop the death of his family. Um, but I do think some attempt of trying to save at least this version of them will be made. Um, because like if it is like you can see like all except for Kotaro was completely accident, and then like Kotaro's was the end result of him just like smacking Tenko with like what was it, like a weed whacker or something? It was like an implement of some kind
Yeah,
that
yeah, he
and
pulled out the gardening tools.
yeah, which I mean it was a reaction, it's just like a poor reaction. So um so I don't know. It's interesting to see what avenue it does go down. But
Let's see.
wait, can you hold on just one moment, please?
Yes. Let's see. I'm fully expecting Deku to having to witness and fighting past the decay disaster. After Nana stopping Kotaro this chapter, I'm expecting him to not hit Tenko next chapter. Let's see. Oh, I knew Nana was going to be a tag. I knew Nana was going to be a tag along vestige, and her seeing events would unfold was such a aspect. Her getting developed way after her death. Hori is a genius. After Nana stopped, yep, okay. So I kind of look at the possibility of Deku having to just witness everything as especially tragic, but whether or not I see him oh, wow, that was a wild thing to discover. Um, Let me get back on track. I just read a wild ass conversation
Oh.
on the server. Oh man. So one,
One thing I did find notice was that Deku was in his middle school uniform on the last page when he's in
yeah,
his UA uniform mode the rest of the chapter.
It's to show
Kaiser.
he's fully quirkless again. He's right back where he started.
he specifically even got old school backpack coon with him. Which so while we've been going through Shigaraki stuff, I feel like
Well,
we
you need
have
to
to
see the
take
other end of it. Yeah.
right. We have to take Shigaraki through Deku stuff too.
I think I mean we were already seeing stuff kind of merge together, so I think what you're seeing is simply for our benefit. So like you get an intro back into the Shigaraki stuff, but then you're going to see Deku's memories overlaid on top of it. Um this is definitely where AFO's trump card is going to be addressed. He was talking about it right before Bakugo said nighty night, all for one to him. Uh, so I'm very curious to see what that is. I was
Oh,
already seeing a little speculation. It's like, oh, is AFO actually the final boss? Or here's my take on it. I would not really like at this stage. I think compromising Shigaraki's agency for all for ones is kind of underselling the true tragedy behind the character, which is that genuinely nobody was there to help him. So if you kind of pass that off to somebody else, well, that kind of takes away from the actual severity of it because the severity of the trauma was that it pushed him to do all of this stuff, all this terrible stuff he's done.
so my
If you,
personal expectation, because I'm glad you mentioned the trump card, is that if we get to the memory where Shigaraki is sitting on the road or Tenko's on the road,
under the bridge,
yep, that's where Deku and AFO's last remaining piece of ego will come into conflict.
AFL is probably going to notice him because like he's very in tune with that stuff.
So to me, and then like, especially because if you think back to PLW, where like Shigaraki has to actively walk into the All for One, and like his family tries to stop him back then. The idea of Deku stopping Tenko from walking with away with AFO, because as much as Shigaraki says he's the like that core of Tenko isn't real or whatever, we know for a fact that that version of Tenko, that version of him is fascinated by Midoriya's heroism. Because after his fight with Star, there's no reason for him to be sitting in the darkness and looking at and like just calling out to Midoriya. So there's a part of him that is genuinely fascinated by the heroism of Midoriya, which what I like about this too is that if we take the middle school uniform, he's quirkless now, analogy to its full conclusion, then to a certain degree, one for all is being like the darkness, the shade that we see of Deku is him in the hero uniform. Like it represents the darkness and like that dark obsession, like the way the self-sacrificing nature, all these things that were bad about Midoriya are exacerbated by him having one for all. His lack of self-worth. Because even that questions, like you could look at that as he's like, oh, Shigaraki might be trying to talk to me through that. But to a certain degree, Deku's attachment of his self-worth was all tied to him having one for all and him not valuing himself. So that shade may not even be of that. That may be his own one for all shade, the one that,
Yeah.
would have been there if
Yeah.
he would have passed it on, etc.
I want to bring something up in relation to that though. What do you think about the users kind of just passing on without like much of a word?
I think that we have to be getting them back
Absolutely. Like,
because I don't see because if we got that big of a like, and I know some people are like, well, it's not going to undercut it if we get them back after because like the second user actually got a decent bit of fanfare to be launched into the sun.
yeah, I mean, like he was kind of the the test launch in a way. So like you had to see him kind of send off to set up the tension. But the fact that we kind of cut away to everybody else's responses and May was talking about, oh well, I need to serve I'm gonna serve that boy as one of my customers for many years to come, whatever. The fact we focused on that and not Deku actually transferring it is like that kind of shows it's like, well, you got to get them back because you can't. It would be one thing if there was this big dramatic farewell, it's like goodbye forever. And it's like, okay, well, I guess that's it. The fact that we went this route where we kind of just went straight into the transfer and into the inner world, I think that to me indicates there's gonna be something of a part three after this. Um, I know we've talked about it a lot over the past few streams, but to wrap
So
everything up, I think you need to go for one last burst.
I
There's also the
personally think,
storm that needs to be cleared. And
especially,
remember, at the start, All Might brings in the rain,
oh yeah, true, true, true.
unwittingly starting the series conflict. He saves everybody, but he starts that he brings in the rain and starts that conflict. So to bring it full circle, it makes sense for Deku to fully clear it.
So the other thing that I want to say is that I was thinking about this earlier this week. Hold on, is my brain about to Swiss cheese me? Um, with Deku specifically. Oh, there we go. There it is. Whew. I'm so glad my brain just dropped that on. We got to see Overhaul, and I thought about trying to like do a real quick rant video on this earlier this week, and then I decided I would just save it. I believe that even if the core Shigaraki is saved, it would make the most sense to me for it to go down this way. Is that we have to get our Kaiju Rocky battle, and I think that's kind of what. And overall, coming back this chapter made me think about it even more because everybody's morphing into each other.
I think Shigaraki is going to be defeated here. The final boss is Tenko Shimura.
And I don't think he controls the power as well. I think you get a true beast of destruction for the final battle. Uh, because I was thinking about how Overhaul is one of the few fights Deku has that actually operates in phases. And so when you look at like the forearm, and if you think about like even some of the imagery for him, he's got like the forearms, he's got like the large hand emphasis or whatever, because they're supposed to be so similar. It kind of feels like this is the forearm stage of Overhaul, right? Like where he's got the multiple arms, and like this is the part where you're seeking peace because it's thinking like kind of like Buddhist or like dealing with Shiva, blah blah blah, like that kind of imagery, and then you transfer over into the kaiju battle because fucking Akira is one of his biggest inspirations. Overhaul turned himself into a kaiju. Shigaraki has been morphing and metamorphosizing this entire, not just this fight, but for like the past, this entire stretch of chapters for like the back end of the final act. He's been changing and adapting, and his body's been changing, trying to accommodate all these powers. But I think if you
Personally, I'm glad he brought
destabilize
back
that,
the hand armor. That was my favorite look in the salon battle.
so you factor in all this instability, and it just kind of seems like a giant amalgamation of power, stop seeking destruction is the final thing, and the thing that Deku will have to defeat to bring back. It's no longer about the ego. It's no longer about who Shigaraki or Tenko is, but this is the part where Deku just has to knuckle down. Because I think Horikoshi is willing to deviate from the norm, but I don't think he's going to try to spend like half his final battle truly just end with a conversation. I just don't see that being how he completely finalizes,
I
this whole
think,
conflict.
I think this is where Gran Torino's advice is going to come in is like, well, killing can be a form of saving too, because it's a mercy in the right situations. Um, and if you've read Akira, which this basically this whole second half of the series is pretty much based off Akira. Um, there's a lot of Marvel and Star Wars stuff thrown in, yes, but largely kind of the overall plot outline is very much shaped by Akira, and that's pretty much what Tetsuo kind of ends up as at the end. He's just kind of mindless, um, not really in control anymore of his own power. So I think for what Deku is fighting against, which is just not only the inequality, but also all the rage and confusion and destruction that abounds because of that inequality. I think that ties in with this character pretty strongly. And like if you get that kaiju battle, what would take normal Shigaraki a week would probably take it like it would probably be like an hour for the big beast. And you still need to see Mount Fuji kind of turn into that lava hellscape, remember? Um, they mentioned it's a volcano, and Deku's hometown is Mustafar. So that's the planet in Star Wars where Obi-Wan and Anakin fight over all the lava. So I think you need to see that imagery.
Yeah, and that's kind of. I'm glad that you like kind of more directly found it on. Hey, you chill out because I don't think that, and I want to say I don't think the Akira reference in having Shigaraki turn into like the giant monster form like Tetsuo did is ham-fisted. I think it's the logical conclusion of a being or a person so fixated on destruction that they were willing to risk their ego and self-conscious in the first place. You know, Shigaraki could have been an agent of destruction without that.
Kind of like Calamity Ganon from Breath of the Wild. Just no ego left, just focus solely on his hatred of Hyrule, and in Shigaraki's
Because
case,
like
his hatred of everything.
because and you think back to what Redestro said, if he was this strong back at Camino, he should have been able to get one of the top 10 heroes out of the paint. So Shigaraki, as of NBA, was so fast and his decay was seen as so perceived as so strong by Redestro that he believed that somebody like Crust maybe or um, somebody like Miracle might have died to him back then. Hi. So the question becomes like, why did he have to do more? And even the doctor kind of like, obviously the doctor wanted him to do it, but he's like, oh, why are you going out of your way to try to get this when you're already powerful enough? So Shigaraki being willing to risk everything, including his own mind and body, it only makes sense that he would be eventually completely out of control of those things, which is what he's been fighting anyway. And I think losing control of his body after reaching a point of acceptance is fine because I think quirks have been part of the problem for a long time. So a battle that also deals with fighting the quirk or individuality makes sense. Like, and Shigaraki's base quirk is decay. It is effectively the manifestation of destruction. If somebody says my individuality, my personhood is decay, destruction, entropy, then at some point I think we got to challenge that head on. And so I think that's kind of perfect.
I
Hi.
more than the symbolism in this chapter and what it means for the story, I really love the sequencing and the paneling, like that one page where Deku opens the door and it reveals the picture of Nana and Kotaro, and you see you see Tenko's hand holding it as he's heading in. It's just super trippy, and the way Stain forms into Redestro and then forms into Overhaul, just super like it's just not not fully formed, not like a logical transformation. It's something you would see in a dream. He captured that trippy aspect super, super well. And I also really like when they actually get to Tenko, there's that last little small barrier. It's like the absolute, absolute core of everything. And Deku can't reach it until he has Nana breach that final defense. So in a way, it was kind of lucky that they all didn't pass through because he could concentrate for that one moment. Although maybe it would have been breached if they had all gone through initially. I don't know. Uh, Next chapter. God, man. Well, if you pay attention to this chapter, you see Deku and Nana stop the second slap Kotaro is going to give Tango. So they clarified earlier in the chapter with the truck that they can physically interact with everything within this subconscious space. So my question heading into 2 weeks from now, because this manga takes a break every 2 chapters and it kills me, but I understand why. My question for next chapter is Deku going to prevent the decay of the family?
Yeah, so I think Joseph and I were talking about that a little bit earlier, and I'm of a mixed mind on it because I kind of part of me thinks that it has to happen so that we get to that point where AFO walks up and finds Tenko. And what somebody in the chat mentioned is that that could be the moment where Deku, because the whole you'll lose an arm, you'll lose an arm, you'll lose an arm. That decay, like trying to intervene there, could cost Deku his arm, and maybe we see that like he rips off the arm or something like that just to make sure he doesn't fully lose his body to the decay fight. And then
Test
he's
test.
hey, we can hear you, Joseph. I can hear you. Can
Okay.
you hear him?
All right.
Hi, you gonna chill out?
Well, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Good. I just came back and my microphone just wasn't working, and I have no idea what caused it. So that was fun. Uh, like I couldn't hear anything or anything at all. So like I probably missed a good chunk of whatever you were talking about.
So
We were talking about Shigaraki Rage Monster as the final obstacle. A lot of the paneling, and also we went over what would happen next chapter if Deku would stop Tenko decaying his family or not within this little subconscious space they've breached.
because I think that Deku has to witness the origin, if that makes sense, because I don't think he can change the origin, right? Because it depends. I guess it also depends on what you consider to be the true origin of Tomoe Shigaraki.
I'm wondering if Deku pushes the family out of the way as like just let him. I don't know. I wonder if Deku pushes the family out of the way and he's the one to reach out to Tenko.
Like, I mean, I guess you could get a pretty good shot of him running past the mom because to a certain degree, I think it depends on how it decides to go, right? Like, like Hikari's domain, right? Will it be he gets to truly interact in this scene and talk to Tenko and stop him from exploding and killing Moon-chan and his sister? Because he's right next to him before Moon dies. So I guess we'll find out right away whether or not he can do anything. Because the second Deku sees Moon dies, he's going to try to like walk him through what is happening to him, what just happened. Like he manifested a quirk, his quirk is decay, blah blah blah. You need some water? Here's some more water. So
I think Lon's a goner no matter what because he was already starting to decay in that last
yeah, I think the
page.
dog has to die. Um,
Shigaraki drawing a dog dying again. Oh no.
perfect.
Oh.
My first thought was JoJo. So
Oh, too much
I think it's
water.
so funny, like the villain of part two actually saved the dog from being killed. So,
I actually want Midoriya to see him decay the family. I feel like I want that in the sense that I think it's necessary for Deku to fully see the moment that kind of there was no going back for him for Shigaraki, like trauma wise. Oh,
I think it's like I think Deku's gonna like want to try to save them because that's just who he is. But I think it's gonna be like what happened with this chapter where there was like this wall that he just can't get through. And so he's gonna like forced to watch, but he's gonna try to save them just because that's just Izuku.
because my personal thought, like I was saying, is that the meeting with AFO is a better intercession point than right when the family's getting decayed because AFO's trump card is likely in that moment because he ingrained himself into Shigaraki's origin. And I mean, obviously, you could also argue, oh, well, like Deku will be there for when the thugs are trying to trying to beat up Shigaraki, and then that's like he'll save him from the thugs instead of. So, like, I guess you do have multiple options for Deku to intercede and save, and maybe we get a montage of Deku constantly trying to save him and not being able to, which I guess that would be heartbreaking in its own way. But hi, yeah, okay.
I just hope like what we know of Shigaraki's origin is actually what happened. Like I would just not like it if turns out Awful One actually killed his family and just made him think that Tenko did.
That would be such
Yeah, that's what I don't want to happen.
like I guess it could look anything can be good if it's written well enough, but I feel like that's an extremely uphill battle.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know how you would feel about that one, Volk, but I feel like that's one that you probably, if you decided to, could go on a pretty big rant on why it would be okay or why it definitely wouldn't be, etc. Hi, little baby.
I'm
And
sorry, I
Seth,
was checking something else. What was that last bit?
oh, he was saying that like he doesn't want it to be AFO is the one who killed his family. AFO, I'm eating your finger, okay?
And then
Yeah,
then
yeah.
made yeah, okay.
I mean, okay. Look, there is
Again,
no
just to repeat, don't want
there,
that to happen.
there is
Okay.
simply no denying it at this point. You see the police officer a couple chapters ago in the one memory. And AFO found Tenko pretty quickly, all things considered. So I don't think you can deny that AFO was watching him for a while. My thing is, even for like the thing with AFO is he does not necessarily come up with original ideas himself. Even his whole fucking plan to like take over the world and be hated by everybody, he took that from a comic book. He takes and borrows ideas. He's never had an original thought himself. I do not think he would have thought he would have had the capacity to think that, oh, Nana's grandson, I'm going to implant decay inside him, and that's going to be what sets off his origin. That's going to manipulate him. I do not think that makes a whole lot of sense for his character. I don't think that makes a lot of sense either way because, well, how did he even get decay? Did he have to make it or something? It just brings up a lot of questions. I think it's much more likely and much more organic if All for One was tracking down the Shimura family to use as leverage against All Might, and then discovered Tenko one day and discovered he had decay inside him, it's like, well, I just gotta wait then, because that quirk's gonna awaken eventually. So he was probably there uh, or had somebody staking out the house and gets the report like this the whole thing's just been destroyed. And then All for One kind of tracked him and let him roam through the city, nobody helping him. If any heroes came by, maybe he would kind of redirect them or simply kill them outright. All to make sure that Tenko was left completely 100% alone. So I think that's more so what happened. He kind of stumbled upon a situation like he always does. He twisted it to his advantage. He's All for One does not come up with ideas.
Yeah, no, he's an opportunist. He likes to paint himself as like this ultimate strategy idea man, but he's largely an opportunist. He has a couple good ideas here and there, but he's kind of like Elon Musk. He's mostly like profiting off of other people's ideas.
Exactly. Exactly. Like he stumbles upon things and it's just like, we'll make this work, baby. We'll make this work. Gonna work a little my AFO magic. Like 24K magic for Bruno Mars, except Bruno Mars ended up $50 million in debt. So
I just
Look,
saw that.
which is another good which is another good analogy for AFL, I guess.
yeah, but
Morning,
the
guys.
album's gonna be good. Hey, Seth,
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Long time no see.
you,
Hope
you
everyone's
were
been great.
celebrating Mario Day, so
That was fun. Despite being a smaller theme park, Nintendo Land is pretty cool. Great place to visit. Definitely if I want to bring my definitely if I want to bring a family someday. But also just,
awesome.
as an adult, it's cool to see just how they can bring the place to life.
Most things that are cool for families are cool for an adult.
Uh,
I think
I
so
mean,
too.
as an aside, tribute to late great Akira Toriyama.
Ah,
Arale
Yeah,
from Dr. Slump is what inspired Mario's look and trademark run.
indeed. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw that. It's
Oh.
incredible seeing just how many things that he inspired with his life. He's
Oh
the
yeah,
type of
like
person who was able to, well, while he was having fun, he was able to let other people have fun. And I think that's an awesome way to live. Much respect to the life he led. Like, I'm far from the biggest Dragon Ball fan. I really just saw it because it was on television as a kid. But I know that his influence is so wide and what he gave to the world is so beloved. So rest in peace, Toriyama
yeah.
Sensei. And thank
Uh,
you.
it's like I said this on Twitter like shortly after his death was announced, but like there's influential and then there's Akira Toriyama because like so much of modern pop culture can tie back to him and his ideas in some way or another.
He invented chibi, like the art style.
It
Oh, did he?
trended before
Okay.
there was Twitter.
Yeah.
Like they had magazines and stuff for all that.
I mean,
Uh,
he just changed the game, man.
yeah,
Um,
and like I said this last time, but like it really is amazing how he just had this ability to take all the stuff that he made up on the fly and made it just seem like it was thought out months in advance.
He did not know what was going to happen in the next chapter just as much as the Raiders did. He was just like, I mean, okay, towards the end of Dragon Ball, you can kind of tell, but like he always prioritized fun,
Yeah,
which I think is which I think is something that a lot of people try to do but can't do very well. He was one of the few who did it super, super well. Super well.
yeah. Like I mean, like if you look at all the stuff that he had, like how like all the changes that he had to make on the fly, like the androids and cell stuff should not be as good as it is.
a lot of
Like
things. Like if Dragon Ball was, if Dragon Ball Z was made today, I don't think it would have quite the same appeal just because the standards are different, but they're also standards that he built. So it's kind of fascinating in that regard.
I also
You know,
don't think editors would try to be as the way that they tried to shape this, like the Cell Games arc is actually okay. For the amount of changes we know were pushed by editors from this guy can't be the villain, no, that guy can't be the villain. Well, okay, then I'll pivot here and do this. For the amount of editor influence and knows that he got during that arc, it's one of those things that to me it only goes up in quality, factoring in how much he would have to like work around what other people wanted to make a functional story. And it doesn't feel contrived. Like,
Well, yeah, when you're a
for,
series like Dragon Ball, you can kind of just do things, is what's great about it. Like, um, generally speaking, I don't like things that have too much whimsy, but Dragon Ball's whimsy is all in service of, building up the next fight. It's consistent with that. And so, there's a point to where you can just let it something be what it is, and what it is great.
Yeah, I mean, this last arc of MHA especially is very Dragon Ball inspired. Like it's just one mad rush after another. Like I think people are kind of thrown off by kind of the difference compared to the rest of the series because the closest we've gotten to this like just non-stop intense action is POW because you get pretty significant cooldown arcs throughout the series. This
yeah, I'd
final
say
arc
like
is just no breaks.
yeah,
And that's
that's
what
like
It
Dragon
feels like he's been. I feel like this has sort of been in the. I remember there are several times when I felt like this in MHA. The first was the summer training camp, which was not as long, um, in retrospect. But
Oh, that
that
was
was one. That was the other instance where there was a lot of back to back conflicts. It was just the scale was much smaller. Like you
that
could
was nothing,
things
man. That
happen.
was like I remember. I mean, and Horikoshi even came out and said it's like it would have been more villain focused if he had gone with his original plan.
yeah,
Yeah,
and that was dictated by audience
infamously,
reaction.
you pointed that out.
I mean,
Yeah,
but also I think that might have been a blessing in disguise because I don't know if we would have gotten my villain academia later.
No,
If
it absolutely was. I actually really, really like the pacing of that arc. Just most for several reasons, but I also was like put off not because I didn't want a villain attack, but just because it's like, well, yeah, he's establishing the kids here. Why are you like you're forcing conflict? So get to it, I guess. Like at that
so it's
point,
weird because
like
personally,
sure.
I found Forest training to be an okay arc, and I thought that the villains elevated a lot. And I felt like having that kind of big failure is, in retrospect, like obviously it's an adaptation that he made, but I think it's a key component of the story going forward. Understanding that, like, no, we can genuinely fail, and what, like, it also shows, like, if you, because I'm sure there's some people who think that like the heroes like won, like that was a big discourse. I know you saw that stuff back in the day after PLW, like, oh no, the heroes won. It's like, how? But like the idea that just because a bunch of students didn't die doesn't mean that they succeeded as heroes. So I thought that was actually a really good component to build into the story ahead of time for everything that happens later. But I cut you
I
off
thought it
with
was
stuff about
skillfully
that.
done. Yeah, like changing it from okay, you didn't die to actually no, we literally had someone taken and they might be getting indoctrinated. Like that is the I appreciated that kind of level of stakes. And yeah, it was intimidating seeing Deku fight Muscular, like someone who could literally tank All Might's power. Like he was fighting someone on the level of the USJ Nomu at least. So I really actually love the Forest Training arc, and it was my favorite arc up until PLW, I think. Like not even like I like Villain Academia. It's just like the stakes were not the same. Like I knew exactly how Villain Academia would go as soon as he dropped the Redestro page. Like, wow, our villains are really poor and broke. Oh, hey, look, rich businessman pulls up. what's gonna happen. I knew exactly how Villain Academia would go, so I was almost a little bored, but the backstories saved Villain Academia for me.
In retrospect, I kind of wish Destro and Detonarat were introduced after
Much
Camino
earlier.
because it's just
Oh my gosh.
it's
Like I could say
yeah
that about well, the thing is that Camino was a point where, and I think I've mentioned this before, but authors when they start a manga, they have to have an idea of how it would end, and Camino was an idea of how MHA might end in an alternate universe kind of thing.
yeah,
Like
just like
God forbid.
if this gets canceled, this is the we shift to this, and this is how
Right.
it wraps up.
Right. And the stuff
Uh
after that, which is like the licensing exam overhaul, those are stuff that were to kind of stall for time as he develops the rest of his story,
Well,
which I love what he did. And he worked
I
with it
think
really well. But
well
like,
the thing I think you guys are kind of touching on Horikoshi was kind of flying by the seat of his pants a little for I think a lot of the first half of the series. He had an idea of where he wanted things to go, but if you want to know why things kind of shift away from Deku somewhat, starting with Pro Hero, that's because that's the point where he actually formed a plan for the rest of the story.
well,
Um,
yes, like, and that takes time. Like, through like
it does take
like
time.
that takes a lot of planning and stuff to do. Like there's a planning stuff before your series publishes. You have an idea of where it's going, but obviously it's like if you're writing a weekly manga, like you have to be able to fly by the seat of your pants a bit. I think
And notice by the time this was 2018, he kind of decided where the rest of the series would go.
yeah, yeah,
You'll
no,
notice by
that's
that
where
time, that's when they would have started doing work on Heroes Rising, which was the original ending. But then, a lot of things changed, and I think Horikoshi realized certain elements of it did not work anymore, and so he kind of scrapped that. And I'm kind of glad we did because,
absolutely.
I mean, here's the thing. People say about Heroes Rising, it's like, oh, well, you just don't like it because, like, it's so Bakugo centric. It's like, well, that's you're kind of avoiding the real issue, which is that this is a point where this is Deku's story. He kind of has to take charge and really sell the conflict. I don't know what throwing Bakugo in there really does. I think maybe once upon a time Bakugo was going to be even more central to the Shigaraki conflict, but like he's already pretty important, but at the same time. And also, on a personal note, I just find team up endings kind of cheesy. It's
Well,
like
I
So
think I think
I
we
think
have
it
to
can
remember.
I
I
think it
think we
can
have to.
work, but it's at the same time, it's like if you're going up against the biggest, baddest villain, just to be like, we can do it together. That's like I don't know, that's kind of trite to me.
No, I think that for a movie, it's fine, and I treat it as a movie that has its
Absolutely.
own pocket. Right? We don't get the universe in which that would have been the ending is the thing.
my stance
Like
on it is kind of
it
that,
wasn't written, the story isn't written that way as it
yeah.
currently stands. So yeah, of course, an ending from a movie doesn't feel like it fits with the main story. That's not what's happening. I feel like Horikoshi may could have written it that way, but I am also very glad that he didn't because there's a very interesting dynamic between Deku and Shigaraki right now that was pointed out to me over Twitter. Um, I don't know if you guys know Charlie Recon Whale, but I really like an idea that he had mentioned to me about how Deku's power is focused on giving away right now, while Shigaraki is about consuming everything. And I think that's just another interesting dynamic between the two. Just how the focus on their heroism slash villainy is completely inverted um, from
Yeah.
each other's.
Yeah. I mean, also, like a lot of people had been pushing for Bakugo to be in the final fight, and it's like I don't think his parallels with Shigaraki are that much stronger, which was and when the All for One fight started, I'm like, I don't know, but then you went to the backstory and you discovered no, All for One was exactly like what Bakugo was at the start of this series.
It was so perfect.
It was so
The
good,
way,
and it was like, oh, that's why, and that makes sense, and that it was the best of both worlds because it was a great final battle for Bakugo, it was a great close to his character arc. It also did not really intrude on Deku versus Shigaraki, is the thing.
no.
They
And
were
he
fighting
literally
side by
says, I will
side.
get out of your way.
Yeah, they were fighting side by side, but also not really eating into each other's moments, which I think,
Right.
which I think is which I really loved. Um, and also I think it kind of justified like, okay, why are Deku and Bakugo kind of like both kind of inheritors of All Might's legacy? Kind of like when Deku told the secret and they were kind of all in on that, and it's like, okay, that's why.
So
It
my
just made a lot
personal
of things make
stance
sense.
is that like I think it's important that Bakugo play a significant role in the story, like towards the end, just because of what you just mentioned, that whole inherited secret, like dual legacy type thing, and because the goal is to move society past the All Might way of one person doing so much, blah blah blah. But I still think that just narratively, it is still best for Deku to be set apart and like in some fashion above one because just inherently because of what One for All is. It's just supposed to be above everything else. Like as a power, it just clears so many other things that it would be kind of contrived to make a Prime One for All user on the same level of any character that isn't an All for One user. So I much prefer Bakugo getting to fight a weakened AFO that is being reverted and his body can't actually deal with the full burden of his powers. And Bakugo is finally reaching the maximum potential of his quirk, which is like one of the ones that I think most of us have agreed throughout the series had like one of the highest skill ceilings and potentials of any of the quirks displayed, but still giving Deku that moment to focus on his own dynamic with Shigaraki. Because I think it's important that when you get towards the end of the story that the characters you choose to emphasize, while yes, their group arc is important and their relationships are important, it's important for them to have their own individual conclusions reached. And their own like that's what makes a character get to be its own character. Like Ochako's resolve and opting to risk her life to try to reach out to Toga and actually properly understand her. Sure, we get her confession of being in love with Izuku there, but she had reached that conclusion on her own and then talked to Deku about it, and they both realized they had individually come to the same conclusion of wanting to save these people who have been scarred. When she fought Toga and saw her crying, Deku wasn't there. It's a conclusion she reaches on her own that she wants to prioritize saving this person, even if it's going to be harder. And we saw how much she risked and sacrificed trying to reach out to Toga. And Toga's ultimate choice was, I can't be saved in the way you want to save me, but I also don't want you to be lost for what you've shown me. So I will take myself out of the equation, and that will allow you to move forward and still get to live. And I don't have to deal with the stuff that I don't want to deal with anymore. Her own conclusion to her own conflict with her own effective rival slash antagonist, whatever you want to call Toga. You don't need to eat the cord on my headphones.
As far
Yeah.
as as
She's
far as
curious.
Bakugo goes, I do think that it's important that you have, well, what makes Bakugo important, I think, is specifically um well, Deku. And that's true for many characters in the story, but Bakugo is the way he is now because of Deku's influence. And I think it's important that Bakugo gets the moments he does get in this arc because again, it's a reflection on Deku. So I think that everything's scaled pretty well in terms of how Horikoshi has written his main character. The influence Deku has on every single fight, I love it. I think it's awesome, and it doesn't steal from the individual characters either, which is also great. Like it actually kind of blows my mind the writing that has gone into each one to make it feel earned. So I'm so satisfied with this final arc. I mean, heck, the weakest parts are arguably the ones where Deku has the least influence. Like, it's great. He's one of the best MCs.
Well, Deku's influence is more like kind of larger series kind of stuff. And it's like it's really the sum of his efforts here. And like I know he doesn't fight All for One directly, at least not the main body, but everybody fighting him, whatnot, it's a mixture of their own resolve and also Deku inspiring everybody and leading the charge. So effectively, like All for One was just whittled down and defeated because of everything Deku did.
And eventually, he will have to face Deku in the Vestige world, and Deku will beat him there too. It's going to be great.
Well, yeah, I think you and I are of the same mind on this. It's not going to be like a physical fight. They're not going to tussle or anything. It's going to be purely a matter of ideology.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that unfolds. Hmm. Because now Deku, as of this chapter, doesn't have any of the vestiges with him, and that's both concerning and exciting.
I you started this thinking that he was going to lose his quirks permanently. What do you think
Yes.
now?
Well, let's see. So I believe, of course, that that still holds. However, I do agree that the manner in which we lost all the vestiges
Come on,
is
man. You know it. You know it can't happen
it's
this way.
it's unceremonious. So
You know it can't happen this way.
I personally think that we will say goodbye to the vestiges properly, but in the
But
Ember sense.
you're forgetting about something though.
Am I?
The storm. You're forgetting about
Yes.
Zawa. You're
No,
forgetting about all of these hints. So what happens
he
if Deku is launched out into all that, and it's just like, well, I'm just gonna fall to the ground and die.
I don't think necessarily, all right, I don't think necessarily that he is left completely quirkless at the end of the series. I do think, though, that yes, he will probably lose the extra powers because they represent ghosts from the past. And
That I think you're taking it too literally. Those quirks are also part of Deku, though. They're part of
hey,
his
hey,
identity.
we'll see, we'll see. I am open to further possibilities. However,
I
I do
don't think it
think
has to
it
be as rigid as you're
works.
making it out to be, though. They
I
have
do
to
think
come
it
back to him.
works. I
They have to
do
come
think
back
it
to him.
works.
Hold on. I'm just gonna say that I think that the fact that we have that shade of Deku, he launched every vestige of others. My personal take on this is that even if um he's launched Yoichi, all these other people, which I also think that we have to get more from them because Yoichi just getting popped and sent off like that with no other nah. That's weird. Like the way that the other vestiges went and bye bye is just
It's very
so
sudden.
it's so unceremonious that it just doesn't seem like it can be the end of those journey with those characters.
Wasn't he supposed
Um,
to keep Yoichi and Banjo though?
he was supposed to keep Banjo, and somehow he didn't keep Banjo.
No, he was
Um,
supposed to. No, the initial plan, as it was yes to throw as many. Actually, he was supposed to get rid of all of them. Like the plan is to throw as many as it takes to get rid of AFO, and of course that's gonna take pretty much all of them. In at least in my view, like you don't set Deku up with 10 fingers only for him to not use all of them, or go beyond and like do multiple at once, like or re-break a broken finger kind of thing. Like Deku's that kind of crazy. Like when that was introduced, I'm like, there's no way Deku as a character would hold back, just because, um, just because it's a cool quirk. He's going to throw everything he has at Shigaraki. So that's why I expected him to lose all of those quirks. Whether he ends up completely powerless or not is still up in the air for me. Yeah, that's basically where I'm at with this development. I do think we see the Embers again because they're still characters. They're not just powers. So I'm sure their Embers, similar to Star and Stripe, will still be around to say goodbye.
And I think that shade that Deku has is effectively because of the way he utilized all the other quirks. It possibly will house all of them anyway, like all the quirks. It may not house their consciousness anymore, but I definitely think we have to address Yoichi, Banjo, maybe not N, because I'm gonna be honest with you, and not in the memey way, but and it's kind of just not that important. Whereas Banjo was like the first one to make an appearance. He's been around a long time. Just
He's literally the middle point of the well for all users. It's like
like losing him that unceremoniously just feels odd as a writing choice.
Look, I
like
just think that the only thing I want to see of N is I want to see Nana explicitly say that he inspired her with, the smiling thing because he literally does that after being cut in half by All for One. Like, come on, that means more to me than it should.
Being cut in half, losing an arm. Uh,
It's like,
man
here you
was
go. We got this. You got
yeah,
this.
one of the most injured users we've seen. Uh,
yeah.
I'm just completely destroyed.
It's why he's so scared when he's going up against Shigaraki. It's like all that is flashing back for him.
yeah, I don't like you see it. Like I don't really blame him for being like, I don't know, guys. And even him being like, you know what? I got packed up the fastest, the hardest, whatever. Just launch me, bro. Launch me first. Like, because as mean as it'll sound, realistically, he did put up the worst fight. Um, Obviously, the fourth user never fought him, but Bruce, Kudo, Banjo, even Nana, and like in Nana's case, One for All was a lot stronger by the time she had it. All had way better combat oriented quirks. When N went to fight AFO, he dropped a smoke screen and it got blown away, and then he got his ass ripped in half. And that was it. Like that's the one, like people, like sometimes people are like, oh, I would love to see like the past users fight All for One and how those battles went down. N is the one character where it's like, we don't need to see that, bro. We don't need to see that. Why would you do that to a child? We don't need to do that. That's not nice.
Yeah,
So yeah,
and like I don't know how old N is supposed to be, but he never struck me as being that much older than Deku.
and yeah, that's the main thing too about him too is he feels young. He feels like the only one who wasn't an adult. And
I'd
we
say
know
like
that
late teens, early 20s.
Yoshikage, or I feel like I might have just called him Yoshikage because somebody made a reference to JoJo's earlier in the chat, but we know that the fourth user died at 40. So we know he got it at like 22.
So he had it for 18 years.
Nana, she's nebulously but mid 20s to early 30s. Somewhere in there. Banjo looks like a guy that would have been like 30 when he got it. He also could have just looked aged because he was, gruff and out there in the streets. But
I think it was
everybody,
mid-30s.
like everybody else, looks to be post 25, except N. N looks like he could have been fresh out of high school.
There's a fan theory that he was Banjo's sidekick as a hero.
I mean, N was probably younger than Nana when he transferred it. So, like, Nana was already a mom by that point.
Mm-hmm.
Or, well, she was about to be a mom or something. I don't know. Oh, so much family trauma in this series, man.
Once
And
it's
I
not
can't believe
centered
he's
on the
also
Todorokis.
He's ending on the stupid dog again. Like, I remember the first time I read Villain Academia and the ending on the dog. It's like, well, shit, we know where this is going. And he's doing it again.
Yeah, it's
I like,
like even
oh,
even if Izuku can like
Araki would
interfere
be
and
proud.
say,
Araki would be proud.
this is actually pretty dangerous too, because like Deku is deep in that subconscious realm. Like he is quote unquote physically able to interact.
It's like the Matrix. If you die there, you die in real life.
Yeah, like without having I'm sure he'll clear it up, but like, yeah, no, this is not a good place to be at all. Especially in your quirkless middle school like version. Like this is not good. Like I'm just impressed at the tension that Horikoshi is able to play up, even though he's repeating himself. Like, geez, yeah, the callbacks have all been great. Ah, I didn't get to gush about it, but last chapter though was so strong. I loved the build up. Oh my gosh. Just going from like how Horikoshi uses his background and side characters is really good. It reminded me of the Kamino thing. Like when I don't think he actually directly involved the media that time. Like I mean the media were in the chapter, but like no, this time it was just all characters thinking about Deku and it worked so well. And Uraraka too. That was great.
Yeah, I kind of I appreciate that we've started to get some of these like pit stops. What I do kind of want to see before we move into phase three is just kind of one. I kind of want to know what's going on with Aizawa and Kurogiri and Present Mike to the extent where when this sequence is over, I need a perspective shift. I feel like that shouldn't be controversial. Maybe it is, but we've seen a lot of here, but I need to know what's going on there because I don't want a perspective shift from that in the middle of whatever phase three is. Am I making sense?
yeah,
Okay. Because it's all about the timing, right? Like,
Yeah, like when is a good play what good spot to cut to that? I really have no idea.
because
Probably probably some point during it has to be during the final movement. Like after this vestige world space thing, whatever happens. There yeah, I feel like we're about to end like part 2 of the encounter with Deku and Shigaraki, and then we're gonna go into like part 3 where you have more moving pieces, probably because All for One is trying to get back into the driver's seat.
yeah,
Mm.
I'm thinking of a kaijuification is the end point of this battle, and that shade of Deku is gonna come into play, and it'll still have One for All's power or something like that. Like
I
basically
think it's
like
gonna
missing
merge.
some of this vestige
I
or
think it's
something
gonna
like that.
merge. I think it's gonna merge for sure. There's also possibly Star. Maybe she can work some of her magic if there needs to be like that extra step to separate the vestiges from the rest. I don't know. I don't know.
But
I think it makes the most sense. It's like a couple chapters ago, it was kind of up in the air. I was like, is he going to keep them? Is he not? This chapter really leans towards him keeping them. It's like it just doesn't make sense to me. Like even subtracting the goodbye
mhm.
after, it wouldn't have been done this way if that was where we were going. You would have seen you would have seen each one being sent off. You wouldn't just rush into it. Because this is not the full climax yet. This is simply what leads into it. Um, but still, it really looks like there's not much more than 15, 20 chapters left. I'm gonna be honest. I think we might end at about 335, which is crazy to think about, but it feels right. Unless, of course, Horikoshi goes with some of his shorter chapters again, which would kill me, but I understand. I know the Golden Week deadline in particular is brutal for jump artists. So
Oh
he might
wait, when is that?
that's end of April, should be. So he might turn in like another 7, 9 page chapter for that one. Just be prepared. Because he is not about like ever since Culture Festival, like there was that one chapter, it was same time, hit during Golden Week. He could not finish it or make it what it was supposed to be. And I always really disappointed him.
Oh yeah, that was the actual concert because I
The
remember reading
concert,
on the
yeah.
app. It like there was like
It's
supposed to be
just a
like
bunch of
rough
it's just a bunch of
sketches.
sketches in the magazine version, but when you get to the volume, it's just absolutely gorgeous. And I think part
Yeah,
of people's perception of that arc is based off the weekly version
right.
and not the final volume version. Which is a bit of a shame, but you know, it's just how it went down. You'll notice after that arc, page counts did start to lean more towards 13 to 15 pages. He focused more on quality over length, which like, look, I love getting a 17, 19 pager for sure, but if for his art style, it's just it's a bit easier to go for the shorter chapters, and I think that works. I'm not sure what else to say. Have you guys been playing FF7 Rebirth?
No, but I've
I
been enjoying your reactions.
Okay, so you saw my reaction to the date scene, right?
I've only played the first chapter because I can only have one video game hyperfixation at a time, and right now it's Ace Attorney's turn.
Oh, I love that. I love the first game. I need to play the others. Although I have it on my Switch, although it's coming to PlayStation, but PlayStation Plus. But I kind of have to go through the whole original game again, so I don't know.
Yeah, I've almost platinumed the second trilogy.
Yeah. Well, my plat journey with FF7 Rebirth is going to be very long indeed because there's like 80% of it that's relatively easy, and the last 20% knocks you on your ass because it's combat challenges.
Uh,
Uh, so that'll
Stratus.
be fun, but worth it. Um, especially hard mode and the super boss, which is
Oh.
apparently one of the most difficult bosses Square Enix has ever designed ever. So F you, Hamaguchi. F you. God damn it. I thought Vice from Intergrade was bad. Apparently this guy's worse. Oh dear. Uh but I'm in chapter 13 right now. It's been very high quality. So if you own a PS5, this is probably the most bang for your buck exclusive they have right now, I'm gonna be honest. It is stupendous. It is Final Fantasy in a way that really has not been captured since like the PS2 days, and it's been blown up to like the standards of a modern AAA title. It's just absolutely phenomenal. And Anarchy would know this if he had a PlayStation instead of an Xbox.
First off, I am a red-blooded American, and I only play video games on
You better
American
play
system.
Kingdom Hearts 4.
Oh, Kingdom Hearts 4 going randomly Sony exclusive would be the only thing that would make me buy a PlayStation.
There we go.
It'd be the only thing. And not because I'm a red-blooded American. I just prefer the way that like Xbox controllers are shaped.
Yep.
Which I feel is one of the most gamer fucking opinions you can have is I play this system because of the shape of the controller specifically.
I'm gonna be honest, man. The Dual Sense does get kind of awkward to control over long periods. I think PlayStation have had a lot of difficulties with their controllers. They're not the
And
most comfortable.
especially during like the PS3 era, I felt like their controllers were just too tiny.
Yeah.
And like my buddy was like, I feel like I'm holding a brick when I'm holding an Xbox controller. And it's like I feel like my fingers are extra curled when I use a
Yeah.
PS3.
In terms
So
in terms of comfort, not the custom made controllers, which are more tailored. In
mhm.
terms of comfort, I'd rank Xbox, Nintendo Pro controller, and then DualSense right now. Uh,
Which Nintendo Pro controllers are built more like Xbox controllers, so that makes
yep,
sense.
yep. I have a Pyra Pro controller for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's like super freaking cool. It's like you get to see it's red and then it has kind of her like Aegis symbol on the main part. I use it all the time when I play it. It's just super, super nice.
Which yesterday I was in like a Discord call with somebody because you mentioned the Sony stuff, and I heard them select something on their iPad, and I was like, "Wait, are you playing Kingdom Hearts?" And he was like, "Oh, no, 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 that's just like the keynote on my iPad." But I'm glad you recognized it. Most people think it's from like Final Fantasy, and I'm like, man, just like because you know, like when you're at the menu and you make that selection, you get that crisp like yeah,
Mhm.
that
Yeah,
noise.
like
I heard it, and I was like, "Oh, Kingdom
yeah,
Hearts is."
Final Fantasy menus are a bit more of a like a bit more of a jingle, whereas Kingdom Hearts is just kind of a click. So,
Yeah,
and I was talking with friends just this morning about Kingdom Hearts 4. Apparently Quadratum is going to be the main hub world,
yeah.
which is then going to lead into Virum Rex, which Nomura wants to do too.
Okay, so here's what's probably going to end up happening at some point is that at some point during this year, I'm going to finish my Kingdom Hearts 2.5 playthrough. I'm going to play some of the other ones that got adapted into the final mix. And then I'm going to play Kingdom Hearts 3 again. And we'll just sit around and talk about Kingdom Hearts for a day. Because
Uh,
I
I
really love that
I
franchise.
still gotta beat Xion, Master Xehanort, and then Yuzora from Remind.
I was actually having a conversation about this the other day. Is that I started playing Remind like a little while after it came out, got through all the stuff. I ignored the warning that was like, hey, before you should probably create a second save file. And I didn't think about why they would say that. And then I got to the data fights and I was like level 55, and I was like, I am not like good enough at this game to be playing these fights at like level 60. I'm getting my ass whooped and it's not even like a contest. And I don't have a file to go back and grind on, so I have to start a new one.
And they fixed like Kingdom Hearts 2's hardest boss. Like you could find an exploit and stun lock him if you were really if you were really just like F this bullshit.
Yeah.
But
Definitely
you
going
can't you
well.
can't you can't do anything like that in 3. You can't do stun locking. So I mean you can stun lock, but it's very brief. It's not you can't trap anybody by doing that anymore. So it's pure skill, buddy.
And they're bringing back reaction commands for Kingdom Hearts 4 too, which
Yes.
it's
An
funny because
Unreal Engine 5 too. You
I
remember that
liked
demo?
oh yeah. I liked reaction commands. I didn't realize how attached people were to reaction commands though until Kingdom Hearts 3 came out and people were mad about them being gone. What I find fascinating is that unquestionably of the big number titles, Kingdom Hearts 1 is definitely the hardest one. Like as far as like average playthrough experience, it's clunkier.
Oh, you're
It's
fighting it. You're fighting it the whole time, man. It's just
Yeah.
they got a new level designer and new combat director for Kingdom Hearts 2, which is why it made such a huge jump. And speaking
Like,
of, FF7 Rebirth is the first game in like I've ever played that reminds me of Kingdom Hearts 2. Just the feel of it. It's like it's the same thing with a lot of mini games, a lot of great individual stories kind of linking up together to form one bigger narrative. Like it's the first time I've ever really played the same type of game like it. Like even Kingdom Hearts 3 does not kind of nail the balance of worlds and story like 2 does.
so I actually like the Keyblade forms of Kingdom Hearts 3 more than 2.
Hmm.
I think that, and like when I was playing through Kingdom Hearts 2 on this playthrough, I felt like the first go around in the worlds is considerably better than the second go around on the worlds. Like the second visits end up being faster, but narratively they just don't feel as fulfilling to the extent that I was like, yeah, this probably could have just been in the first trip. This probably should have just been in the first trip. But I think the doubling back does create like an interesting gameplay loop, just because you're like, okay, yeah, like Sword needs to like really go out and figure stuff out and blah blah blah. But I think that Kingdom Hearts 1, in my opinion, has the best integration. And I think that Kingdom Hearts 3 didn't I do agree that with the idea that there was too much, like the main story wasn't happening enough in the like early phases of the game.
Yeah. It's like I mean, Kingdom Hearts 3 is kind of awkward because like here's the thing. Every Kingdom Hearts game has to set Sora back to level 1. And they have to find a reason for that, which is why he keeps getting into these weird setbacks. It's like if you've ever wondered, it's like, why is Sora asleep at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 2? Why did Sora have his powers taken away? Sorry, Kingdom Hearts 3. It's so you can grind him back up to getting it throughout the game. Because and also I don't know what powers he's gonna unlock in Quadratum because like Nomura is just like full shonen meathead about this shit. He just keeps stacking and stacking abilities on him.
Yeah, no, like I always say, Kingdom Hearts is a playable shonen anime.
Yeah. It's
And like Theron
like
Rex, like Nomura is like, I am going to do Final Fantasy versus 13 no matter
every
what it
yeah.
takes.
Everybody's bringing up the Darth Vader boss fight, which I'm really looking forward to for sure. If they have Marvel in Kingdom Hearts 4 2, I am expecting a Doctor Doom boss fight of some kind. Because I need that. Unless they do the MCU shit strictly, which is
Yeah, like I wonder like if they would have free reign of the entire Marvel category or just the movies that they do.
yeah,
Like
Thanos or Loki would be fine, but I really want to fight Doctor Doom, man.
Oh, I'd
Magneto.
love to fight Doom, but I feel like how Doom I don't trust MCU style writing to make Doom great.
I mean, they're pivoting to him now, so we'll see, but I just don't know.
But I would not mind slapping Thanos with a keyblade. Like Thanos walks up, oh, we need to remove 50% of the world people. You must not have any friends. Like, because only a person without friends would be willing to subject half of humanity to. Screw that. My
I
friends
mean,
are my power.
oh wait, okay, Woody, that little cowboy from Toy Story, just nuking Xehanort from orbit. It was probably the funniest moment of Kingdom Hearts 3.
I mean, Woody straight up stops Sora from like confronting young Xehanort. It's like, nah, I got this. And he straight up says to his face, I bet you've never been loved before. Like,
Which,
Jesus.
if you're like me and you didn't play a lot of Kingdom Hearts, Dark Road, or all that other stuff, you find out that Xehanort was very loved at one point. and then they all died. Um, which I don't think you can play this game anymore. So yeah, sure, I spoiled you on the fact that he had a lot of friends that died,
It's
but
archived. The story is archived, but you can't really play it anymore.
Yeah, like the first, I mean, like this thing. What I love and hate about Kingdom Hearts is that there are no side games. Every single game is story important.
Everything is
Uh,
canon. I'm
like,
just waiting for them to release another kind of like back cover thing
yeah,
yeah,
before.
that's what I was trying to get to. That like the very first gotcha game had like it was, I think it was exclusive to Japan or something, but they did this movie that covered all the key points.
Even the
And
freaking rhythm game is canon, man. Like it literally
oh,
explains in greater detail what happened to Sora and what how they're trying to reach him and get him back.
and
yeah,
how
I
Kyrie got to Destiny Islands.
Yeah.
yep, I actually really love that game. And like this, what did you think of Rucker Howard replacing Leonard Nimoy as Xehanort's voice? Because I feel like he didn't fit, and Christopher Lloyd, which they did for Remind and the rhythm game, I feel
I I
fit a
I
lot better.
I mean Rutger Hauer and Leonard Nimoy, fantastic legendary actors. Rest in peace.
Yeah,
My personal opinion, Christopher Lloyd is the best voice of them all. He just has that zaniness to him that I
yeah,
really think
yeah. I thought Christopher
embodies it.
Lloyd matched Leonard Nimoy's performance a lot better.
Yeah.
Like they both have very distinctive voices, and
Yeah.
I kind of wish. I mean, it's a shame that Leonard Nimoy died before Kingdom Hearts 3 came out because I think he did an excellent job as a villain when you don't really, I never really associated him with a villain role, really. Yeah, he was
Well,
Galvatron, but
He was Sentinel Prime in that Bayformers version, like the
and
original.
Galvatron in the animated movie.
Yeah. Ah, I'm just really excited for Unreal Engine 5, man, because they confirmed they're porting everything you saw in that little tech demo they had like a couple years ago.
Yeah,
And they're like, no, we're bringing all this over into Unreal Engine 5. So what you're going to see next is going to be even better, which I think is very crucial for Kingdom Hearts scale battles because one thing I was struck by the tech demo was not even the graphical fidelity. It was the consistency in the actual world they showed. Now, I know it's a tech
Yeah,
demo. I know it's not the same thing in practice, but just think about how Kingdom Hearts was back in the day, especially with Kingdom Hearts 2. You get some of this in 3, but not quite to the level of 2. So I think that level of detail with that level of consistency for Kingdom Hearts 4, you're gonna see some crazy shit, especially when you get into like space battles in Star Wars or other stuff, whatever
I'm
worlds
also
they
gonna
have.
say that if they're bringing back reaction commands for sure, Kingdom Hearts 4 will be lambasted as the easiest Kingdom Hearts. Um,
Yeah.
because the thing that I like most about Kingdom Hearts 3 combat, and this will sound weird, is that it was one of the first video games in this era, and like since I've been playing video games really, that I felt like the character from the cutscenes in my gameplay. Like the combos that like Sora does so many crazy ass combos during cutscenes and has all these interactions and reaction commands. And I felt like I was actually playing and being that person while fighting in Kingdom Hearts 3. So Kingdom Hearts 4, just based off that sequence, because it was, yes, it was supposed to be a tech demo, but it was also supposed to, according to it, it was supposed to be showing gameplay when, you get the fight with the darkness. If you're going to get to have fights that smooth with that level of like flow motion type hopping and parkour and all that other good stuff, it will be considered like the easiest Kingdom Hearts game. And people who keep forgetting that you don't get the critical mode until the final mixed versions of games, even though critical mode is just mobs one-shotting you. If you can't keep them all on your screen at the same time, you will eventually just get tapped on the button, die. Uh, people who don't realize that critical mode isn't a part of the base game every single time are definitely gonna be mad because that's part of what happened with Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, but they did get feedback from players so they could properly balance critical mode, which was good.
But yeah, that's just my personal stance on it. Is that I also don't find doubling, tripling, and quadrupling damage as an interesting form of difficulty. I prefer when things pull out like new attacks more than when they just hit harder. So like to me, one of the best versions of difficulty managed is Monster Hunter.
Hmm.
And I don't know how much or if you guys have played Monster Hunter at all.
I played a
I
few hours of it on Game Pass. I was very intrigued by it. Like it was generally hunting. Like I was tracking down this monster and then I slayed
I
it
mean,
and I pillaged its meat and I was supposed to go back and cook it or something, but I don't know if I would have because I quit the game right there.
this man carved up flesh and was like, I don't know if this is for me.
I mean,
Killing the monster was fine, but
I just kind of felt off it to be honest. And then it when my Game Pass sub expired, I was like, well, I guess that's that.
so yeah.
I've never
Which
had any interest in Monster Hunter, to be honest.
have you ever enjoyed a fighting game?
Yeah, but it just
Have you ever enjoyed an
uh
RPG?
yeah. But I just never really had any interest in that series.
Do you think fighting a dragon would be cool?
I fought cool dragons before in video games, yeah.
What about if you did it with a spear and a bug and a 2-foot cat by your side?
I don't know, maybe I'll try it out eventually. I mean, I think because I got the PlayStation Plus, I think there's one that comes with the level that I'm at, so I could always try it out, but it's never really been on my list.
I'm not saying you gotta do it. I'm just saying that I was skeptical of it at first. Also, I'll say this. I think, and this is considered very controversial, if you talk to a lot of old heads in Monster Hunter community, but I think Monster Hunter World is actually like one of the better slash best version of the franchise because in Monster Hunter World, which isn't even the most recent one, the most recent one is actually Rise slash Sunbreak. But Rise slash Sunbreak is designed to give you a little bit more fun. So the one that was on Game Pass, I'm pretty sure was the one that was Monster Hunter World. And with Monster Hunter World, you actually go around and you gather samples and you get like you have these things called scout flies and they like fly around and they like take you towards monster tracks and all this other stuff. And once you find the tracks and you get enough data, they'll start taking you straight to the monster. Then you got to fight the monster. Sometimes you have to capture them, and usually what happens is it's like if the monster's ready to be captured, it'll start limping or something like that. And you're like, he's limping. I can put a trap down and gas him to sleep. Uh, Monster Hunter has one of the most satisfying gameplay mechanics in that it has this thing called a tail cut. And effectively, any monster that has like a big tail, when you fight it, as long as you're using a slashing weapon, if you do enough damage, you get to cut off the tail and it'll go flying and it gets you like an extra carve. There shouldn't be a passcode. It should be built right into the link. You should be able to just join. That's weird. Which I think Rise has faster gameplay. Um, Rise lets you just kind of get straight to the fight in the monster, but I think if you want the full like I'm hunting a monster and doing all this other stuff experience, then you're gonna want to go to a world where you get to do the tracking. But the old versions of the game, you were fucking you had to just like memorize which rooms that the monster would show up in, and then you had to throw a paintball at it so that it would show up on the map. and all kinds of other stuff that, in my opinion, are a little contrived and silly. Um, and but people will say like, "Oh, you Gen Fivers, you're what the fuck."
How are we enjoying other manga lately?
Oh shit! Undead Unluck is on a tear. A tear, I tell you.
A tear, you
Uh,
say?
Look, I've had Undead Unluck as on a tear for probably like 2 or 3 years at this point. Uh, it's just
That is
been
a shame that people seem to not be taking to it. I've seen that the anime pops off, and I see a lot of compliments from the people who do read it. I guess it may just be that kind of art style that is not quite captivating, which, well, it is what it is, I suppose.
well,
But I may give it a shot once something else I'm reading concludes.
it's always been seen as like kind of niche. Like a lot of people, like a lot of readers are like, "Oh, this is kind of niche because it's not quite an isekai, but it kind of functions like an RPG. But there's like a game aspect to it, but it's really trying to explain it like without
Spoiling.
spoiling lots of stuff is wild. But yeah,
Yeah, I did hear something about there being like loops, and that's an interesting way to explore a story and characters, but I would have to see for myself. Uh,
yeah, I'd recommend that. I have been enjoying Kagurabachi. Like despite all the memes in the beginning, it did start off as like kind of funny. Like all right, like this is a little just like little overselling on the edge, but it's definitely balanced itself a lot better.
I agree. I really enjoy this latest villain and the way things feel narratively tight recently. At the beginning,
Yeah,
it wasn't quite like that, but once we started digging into Char's backstory, I
Mhm.
think that's when Kagurabachi started hitting its stride in terms of narrative delivery.
I call the I call the latest, the most recent villain, Narankar, because he just gives me that vibe.
Yeah, I actually really like him. He seems um,
He's
cool
so
and
much different.
calculating.
Yeah, he's so much different from Sojo, and like Sojo, I like as well. But like, I'm glad that the creators mixing up the types of villains that are introduced in the series.
Yeah, Sojo wasn't quite it for me, even though as the relationship progressed, it got better. But Sojo was just a little bit too he felt like a side villain come to life. But ultimately in a good way. I
Yeah,
think my only issue with Kagurabachi right now is that we're a decent ways in, and it really doesn't feel like it has a very developed cast. And but that being said, it's doing pretty well at keeping me engaged despite that. So,
It
hmm.
feels like it's a gritty series. Like it almost not quite, but it almost feels like a gumshoe series, like the beat cop detective type stuff. And
Well, it has this side character who is not a side character, like Chihiro's partner.
yeah,
He has like
Shiba.
no, you're right. He has like no presence to me at all, except, now he actually seems to be participating in the fight, but like it's just weird to me how little presence he has.
to
Like
me, okay, and not to be contrary, but I've had like my eye on him for a while because I feel like he's intentionally diminishing himself.
right? Like it's almost suspicious. Either like the author has held back on him a lot. He's just kind of there.
And so like that's had me being like, no, why is he so dedicated to being around Chihiro? Why is he like was he involved in the death of his father? Like what like I'm so curious because he's so shady to me, but I'm like, you know what? he could just be a well-meaning dude that rocks with your hero and has a life debt to his father and is just gonna do what he can to keep him safe, while also trying to let him get the revenge and stuff that he's after. But I don't know which one it is. So, but like I get it, like to a certain degree, you don't want a character to be carried by mystery. So I do want to see him have a bit more interactions just so we get some present, like here in the moment reasons to be attached to him besides being like, what's the mystery behind this guy? Like I do want to see him a
Yeah.
little more. But so like I feel you, but I also feel like he's like one of my biggest like curiosities in the series right now. Like, what's going on with you? Also, the
Yeah,
fact that
well, that's
Chihiro
like
has
my fear is that there's nothing.
Chihiro, which this is kind of a spoiler, but I also just kind of we're like 27 chapters in, and the dude has already lost an arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's a
Shit's getting wicked for him. And like, I mean, they keep teasing Char is going to be able to grow back for him, but it's like until she's at the point where she can control her powers to do that, he's kind of
Well, he doesn't want her to. That's the thing as well.
he doesn't want her to overexert herself. But I'm
she'll
wondering
get
if it
to it.
might I'm wondering if it might be a series long thing where he's one armed. Like that's just
I,
permanent.
I kind
We'll
of hope
see.
so.
It doesn't matter to me, but I do like that it has at least stuck for a while. So, yeah.
I think it's also kind of funny. I've been reading Mama Yu Yu, although I need to catch up on the last couple chapters.
It's picking up a bit.
Well, I mean,
I think the Axis won because it is going so fast right now.
I think it's axed. But also it's
I
like
agree.
I think something that just kind of wasn't jiving with the rest of Shonen Jump stuff was Corleo is going to cut off his arm, but like there's this whole kind of the whole conflict is basically based around the sigil he has on his hand, and it's like the thing is losing an arm is not a huge is well, I mean it's a big thing, but it's not like absolutely devastating in the world of shonen manga. So you kind of basing it on that is like this whole conflict will kind of stop if you just cut off your hand feels slightly flimsy to me. I
It
think it's
it
just a weird thing to kind of like because we've seen like let's say Deku was in the same position, he had a sigil and he knew the villain wanted it. The thing is in Deku's story, like it's really the only thing that can combat the villain. Grisha is not at that point. So you're just kind of I mean it's not like
it's not gripping, is it?
yeah, it's just not super gripping premise. I think the author started with the right ideas, but I think he's just kind of trailed off, and I don't know how much of that is his own decisions or editor suggestions.
Like
I just
the shift to the battle harem definitely seems like an editorial.
Yeah, it started off as like this somewhat fantasy, but like cross-dimensional thing that was kind of fun.
I
And
thought
then
it
it was
would
like everybody wants him. And it was like, well,
like I thought it would be like a sort of like Ruri Dragon, which I'm glad is starting back up. I thought it would sort of be like that, where he's kind of just in this world figuring things out. And yeah, maybe you would have an action element that creeps up here and there, but I don't know.
it
Maybe we'd explore the hero demon relationships.
I
His
mean, here's
mother
my
is
problem.
completely sidelined. Like,
The series, this yeah, yes, Seth, exactly, sideline. The series is called Mama Yu Yu. Mama as in mom, Yu Yu
you.
as in Yue, a hero, the Japanese word for hero.
yes.
Where's the mom in all this?
Well, it's mama as in demon, but it's a pun on mom. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's multi-layered, but yes, like you're
I mean, yeah, the clear
Yeah,
emphasis
it abandons its hook.
is the
yeah,
relationship with the mother. And it's like
yeah, and
kind
she got put on a bus way too soon.
yeah, it's like One
Yeah,
series
just
that isn't disappointing and is probably the strongest start I've seen in freaking years. Dear Anemone.
yes. I've
Oh
been
God,
loving
I
yes.
Dear
just
Anemone.
finished chapter 5 on that one.
That one is
So I'm all
fucking
caught up. Yeah, that one is
that one
so
is
far
fucking
so
cool,
good.
man.
I like
So far
that
so good.
since we had Hell's Paradise, we not like we're like 2 years removed from it ending, and now we're trying to get more plant-based horror series out there because I'm like, you know what, yeah, let's do this. Because Wild Strawberry is also in I think Jump Plus right now. So you got Wild Strawberry and Dear Enemy, and like they're different enough that like Wild Strawberry is kind of like plays into kaiju stuff and that genre, whereas Dear Enemy or Anemone is leaning more into classical sci-fi horror. So they're not like crossing streams; they just have similar surface level aesthetics. But
Right? Yeah. Sorry.
the Anemone character, we're about to get some actual personality out of her, which we've already been getting some, but the fact that we're already headed in this direction, I'm very happy. They understood that modern audiences have shorter attention spans. They need to hit the ground running, and they're delivering on that. They're giving us something quick, and that it's starting and giving us information to answer some questions, but it's still building up a larger mystery because we can spend 100 chapters on this island, and I think we'll still get a satisfying story out of it. I don't think it can go to like 300-400 chapters without jumping the shark, but that's okay. Like only being 1 to 200 chapters long is totally fine.
Yeah, like Mashle
Yeah,
was
I
less
would
than
like it to
200,
be
wasn't it?
a more contained story because the setting is very contained.
Yeah,
So,
so
like
it's
you
like
don't have to force a big thing. And especially for like horror leaning elements, the worst part about horror is when it drags on for too long and you lose all shock value. And that's pretty bad if you're,
Yeah, I,
that
I
kind of
don't
manga.
see
So
I don't see this being a super long series, honestly. Might even top out at like something like 100 or 90 chapters.
yeah.
But I'm gonna enjoy reading it for however long it's here.
And you know who got dropped? Shadow Illuminators. I read like 7 chapters of that. And I was like, this is ass.
oh, you got farther than me.
Yeah, I read the first chapter and was like, yep, this is a high school set Exorcist series. I felt like I've read this already.
Bro, wait.
Genuinely did
This
nothing
looks
to set
like
itself
fucking
apart.
JJK fan fiction.
It starts right off with, bait, basically.
What kind of
It is
bait?
baiting the Fujo fan base fairly.
Ah, the
Yeah.
Megami, the Yuji Megami fans.
Well, yeah, it starts off like that.
You
It,
didn't even try to deny it.
uh, I mean, look, it's doing the thing where everything is not romantic, but yeah, no, it's bait.
I saw somebody compare Fujo baiting in Shonen manga and people falling for it, like chasing after a dollar note on a string.
It kind of is.
Look, I
Also,
maybe people will. I mean, I don't know. It's very episodic the way it starts, so I don't know what kind of grander plot it can have. But I know, like, when the author kind of starts off doing that kind of bait, I'm
I
like,
mean, I
all right,
mean,
it's
you got
for an audience.
okay. I will say this: I don't necessarily mind Fujo bait so long as it's kind of tongue in cheek or it is actually leading to a genuine male/male romance. Like one example for me is Blue Lock. Look, that series is entirely on the nose about what it wants to do.
No, yeah, Blue Lock is in it's unhinged, so yes, of course. Like it's going to have the quote
Uh,
unquote bait, but it's all going to be framed in this
I mean,
unhinged way that's entertaining regardless.
like the acronym for the series is BL. Like that was intentional.
Also, you know what series that I've been loving the entire time? Yozakura.
Oh
Shonen
man,
Jump's quiet 200 plus chapter series.
I, dude, I need to catch up on that so bad. But I also started Dragon Ball the other night because of in respect to Toriyama Sensei. Um, so I don't know when I'll get back to that. I've been kind of thinking I might just wait until it's finished to catch up. Um,
I know the anime's starting soon, so I think I'll.
I hope the anime gives it some exposure, and I hope it goes over better than Undead Unluck, which kind of it was in Disney jail, which kind of I think really hurt it.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's a Hulu exclusive is probably more what's hurting it than anything else. Because people will be like, well, plenty of people pirate stuff and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, but
People vastly
contrary to people's beliefs, pirated stuff, like the pirated version of things, is never what makes something explode.
Nope. Like, I mean, that's the reason. Like, Crunchyroll was pretty much a piracy site, and then they went legit.
Yeah.
And you'll see when they went legit, that was when anime really started taking off in the West.
Yep, and it was with Sword Art Online, I believe was the big gateway anime for a
Sword
lot
Art
of people.
Online,
Sword Art was a huge one.
Attack on Titan. Those were kind of like the two big ones around 2012, 2013. Then a few years later, you had ReZero, Kekai Sensen, and then My
Look,
Hero Academia.
the furthest I've ever made it in ReZero is like episode 5 or 6. And I can't even tell you what happens because every time my wife and I tried to watch that show, we just ended up having sex.
It's
That was a transition.
yeah.
It's just like we just didn't watch it for real. It was weird.
It's not for everybody. It's like it's very much kind of psychological mystery kind of stuff. And a lot of people's responses to later arcs gets kind of mixed too. So I mean, if you're not able to deal with all like the suffering and the kind of borderline torture porn at points, yeah, it's not gonna be for you.
Well, and that's the thing is that like we'll watch Attack on Titan. Like we both watched Death Note. So we watched all these other series, but like for some reason ReZero just didn't click.
Yeah.
Um, Look,
The
chat, I
briefly
have a child. You have to be okay with this.
so to briefly go back to Kagurabachi for a moment, it was announced that it's getting a physical release in the US.
Like a volume cover?
Oh yeah, I did see
Yeah.
that.
Shit,
I
I
did
might
see
just
that, like,
start collecting.
You know what? No, the troll in me wanted to be like, look, every time you see my daughter, you see the results of that kind of behavior. How is it TMI? You know what I do in my free time sometimes. But that's oh, but yeah, I think like Kagurabachi getting a physical release makes me happy. I'm happy whenever stuff gets a physical release. I'm really hope like that's actually what surprises me with Undead Unluck too is that Undead Unluck is one of the series that has physical release and it still just hasn't popped off. So I think Hulu Jail just hurt series.
But isn't
Like,
it
Yeah.
also not doing too
I
great
mean,
in
as much as
Japan though,
people,
which doesn't have that?
well, Japan, it's doing enough that it's still sticking around. So it's selling it's couple thousands or tens of thousands.
it's a stable series at a time where Jump is kind of hurting for their big hits because their big hits are
Or ending.
losing.
Like
Like, I mean, you want to hear my little theory about JJK stuff? I think
No.
Gege is writing things so he can end at almost the exact same time as Horikoshi leaves.
I no, I feel that way too. Actually, I feel like I don't want to say that Gege is like one of Hori's biggest meat writers, but he's kind of one of Hori's biggest meat writers.
Yeah, like people wonder is like why is the story taking this direction? I'm like, dude, He's kind of spitballing and stalling for time, and it's gotten kind of obvious.
Nah, bro.
Kusakabe.
Nah, bro. I've been a Kusakabe believer for a while.
I mean, okay, to be fair, that was a genuinely funny hook to end on. Like,
Throughout
who's
heaven and
left?
earth, I am alone.
Who's left? Just me, Kusakabe. Like, I mean,
He has no more child soldiers, man. He has to fight.
I
Look,
mean, like the Kusakabe thing. Like, I know people were memeing on him, but like, he's genuinely very capable. But they just point out he's fucking lazy, man.
He's a realist, man. He shouldn't be with Sakuna.
like, okay, so Kusakabe is like, it's funny because Gojo's all like, to be a sorcerer, you have to be insane. No, Kusakabe is the most sane sorcerer. He's strong as fuck, and it's like, yeah, but I still don't want to go fight this dangerous thing. So
The second most sane was Nanami.
like,
The second most sane was Nanami, and even he was kind of like he was off in his own way.
yeah, no, he was definitely, we'll call it a little quirky. Because like, okay, one of the things that like should have tipped everybody off to Kusakabe being kind of fucking cracked in Shibuya, it's not the Uzumaki thing, even though that one should have made it very clear that the dude is legit. It was when he was like sensing what was happening on the lower levels, tricking Panda into walking around being lost. And then when like 5 curse users show up and they're like, what's your answer? Are you a Jujutsu High? You would have, yeah, we're loyal to Ghetto. Yeah. And he's like, oh, perfect. Some of Ghetto's subordinates are here. I'll fight these guys, no problem. Like, and it's literally pulls out a sword and is ready to go to town. He just didn't feel like dealing with a special grade. That's it. Like the second, like dudes pulled up that aren't officially ranked, he was like, which means he detected their power levels and was like, yeah, I can handle these guys. And like if you go back and you look at the look on his face, man was on demon time. He was ready to take them lives. And then he would have been able to be like, look, see, yeah, I didn't I didn't go to fight Jogo and them, but I handled the remnants of Ghetto's group. Give me that money, higher ups. Pay me.
And when Sukuna came and like during that, like they made him do the red light, green light game. When they were running, he went and slashed one of them, one of the ghetto's curse users.
Yeah. Like this man was ready. So it's just like I'm like, all right, Kusakabe, it's time for you to actually show us what you got. And what's funny is that like as much as people always meme with Sakuna giving props to everybody but Yuji, I feel like unquestionably he's gonna actually have respect for Kusakabe just because he's gonna be like, you don't have a curse technique, but you're out here.
I mean, Sukuna was excited because he was up against a purely physical opponent.
Yeah.
For the most part, he deals with curse techniques and stuff. And it's like, oh well, this is kind of different. It's cool. This is better. So
What's this? I'm fighting an actual sane person?
Like, because I'm like, what? Kusakabe which I do think it's the question that will be on everyone's mind as far as the agenda Jujutsu Kaisen people online will be if Maki hadn't showed up and let Sukuna lock in with that black flash, would Kusakabe have been able to finish the job? If he hadn't gotten to lock in, like hit that 120%, would he have been able to finish the job?
I mean, God, man, I know this is a little random, but I'm still kind of salty about Kenjaku. Like,
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
oh,
Doesn't he like absorb Mahito, and so like he's
Yes, he does
supposed to
do that.
carry
Okay.
that on too?
dude,
No, no, no,
here's-
no, no, no. He doesn't have Mahito anymore. He used them up in Uzumaki in season 2.
Yep, yep.
I'm sorry, he used them up to
to shoot a big energy blast
Yeah,
after
he
extracting his curse technique.
he got the
Yeah.
curse technique so he could use calling games.
Yeah, so
So really,
everybody theorizing, oh, Mahito might come back. It's like, no, dude, he's been gone.
that's
He's gone.
that's wow. That's like how Kubo messed up Grand Fisher for Ichigo by having what's his face kill him, but that's just kind of just it's still a waste.
I
Like that's
loved
wasting a
Ishin getting to
character
kill Grand
dynamic.
Fisher.
Like
I
after
love.
that
I actually
whole
like
I'm
that.
you shtick.
That
Yeah, I get
okay,
it.
but that IMU shit was ass.
Well, it's not very good because
No.
Mahito is, I mean, the fundamental difference between curses and humans is like massive. Like, how is Yuji? That's one thing I didn't get. People find
I
it
get
raw,
it.
but I don't get it.
I get it. I get it for what it was. It was pretty much you kill curses just because you're human. I kill humans because I'm cursed. Let's fucking scrap, pretty much.
I mean,
Like okay, I'm fine with like let's say like if a 10-year-old says that, right? Like if a 10-year-old gets that takeaway.
Well, that's what Mahito is.
And but like
it's just it's there's no moral equivalence between curses and humans. Like the first introduction we have to the serious curses we know, Kenjaku, there's a bunch of people just working in a restaurant minding their own business, and he emulates them for no reason.
Well,
Like,
Jogo
Like, there's no
Jogo
moral
does.
equivalence here.
Jogo does that specifically, but yeah.
But
Yeah,
like my thing is like adult readers should be able to recognize that like that doesn't really hold up under scrutiny. Like there's definitely more nuance to their
like
driving
that's
factors.
I mean, it's kind of, I mean, I think for me, I remember people saying like, "Oh, Yuji and Mahito, they have more depth than Deku and Shigaraki." I'm like,
No.
no. Like, I mean, I think there's more kind of straight up hatred there because Deku recognizes Shigaraki as a victim. But
and Yuji and
depth,
Mahito have enmity. Like the
yeah,
enmity is a good word for it,
they
but
have
like
enmity, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Like,
yeah, no,
I
I don't
thought
either.
I thought Mahito was the perfect antagonist for Yuji for the first
Yeah, I
episode.
love Mahito for the first part.
Yeah,
It's just that
I
it
honestly,
feels kind of it feels kind of like a waste to just both Mahito
Often.
and Kenjaku get, dealt
well,
like that.
Yeah, I
the way
get it.
Mahito went out, I thought actually kind of made sense.
Yeah,
Because,
it
like,
made sense, and I also at the same time wanted him to still be around. It's like
Mhm.
you can. I think it's like it makes sense, and you still want more from a character. I think both can exist. Even if someone goes up like when they're supposed to.
yeah, I wouldn't have said no to more appearances from him, but I was also fine with leaving it where it is. Kenjaku, on the other hand, oh, people kept fucking swearing to me. No, man, Kenjaku's cooking. He's like, he's a genius. He got all these plans. I'm like, Kenjaku got fucking lucky. He got lucky. He fucking bullshitted for 1,000 years, and he got lucky with Yuji and Sukuna. That's it. And yes, he had some plans, but he was just like,
He was big chilling.
yeah, like he was powerful and all that, but it's like at the same time, he was also not the end all be all. I think people were making him out to be. I kind of noticed that about him, that we weren't really knowing a lot about him as a character. He was kind of a stand-in with some quirks to be
He
like
was just a
moving the
plot
story along.
device.
Yeah,
That
moving the story
sucks.
along. And
Yeah.
and he teases he has a domain expansion. We never see it. Kenjaku is like he's going over to awaken Tengen. What's gonna happen next? No, wait, you'd have just killed him, and that's that. He's gonna transfer it to Sukuna.
I enjoyed his death, man. I want these big scheming people to just get folded, like no difficulty. That's what I
I
wanted to happen to All
enjoy
for One when it happened. I enjoy when these people die like that.
like I get it. There's a catharsis to their comeuppance. Like I will say that, but and I even enjoyed the comedian getting to play his role.
Yeah,
There are individual
Kenjaku getting
parts
yeah, like,
I like about it. It's just like Kenjaku as a character was not really, I think he
Well,
used to great
the
effect.
Well, the thing is that Yuji doesn't actually like get to finish off Mahito, and
Yep,
so
I agree,
like the
Seth.
fact that he doesn't even get to finish off Kenjaku either, who is his, you know, like
Wait, should we say that?
His
Because it hasn't
mama.
happened.
Parent.
It hasn't been
His
revealed in
mama.
the anime yet. So okay,
Eh.
I guess we're saying it anyway.
yeah,
Okay.
no, like no,
For how much
it's just
significance it
such an
has on the fucking
awkward.
plot, it's like whatever.
It's a throwaway thing, dude. Like, I mean, I remember when that chapter came out, it's like, man, that Kenjaku Yuji confrontation is gonna be crazy. Meanwhile, Gege is literally the meme. Gege never thought of that.
And
Which,
I think that's fine.
speaking
the
of
thing
that,
with
never thought of that because one of the best utilizations of that meme was Kennymon. I gotta ask you, Volk,
Yep.
how have you been feeling about the One Piece lately?
It's it's very good, but also uh I've loved Egghead. Okay, I really love Egghead. I the new chapter I still have to read.
Okay.
But I really love the
are they still at Egghead, or has that
Yes.
changed?
yeah,
Okay.
This
yeah.
is like okay.
I really love the elder stuff. I'd have to go back, but there were a couple notes I made about certain things that I'm not super sure of. Um, I absolutely did not like Wano. I'm gonna be, I've said that
Okay.
before. I did not
Yep.
like Wano. I hated the whole hype period where people were just like trying to gas that shit up. I'm gonna tell you, man, that shit was fucking boring. It's not great for half of it.
How many years was Wano?
Like 4 years, I think.
4.
And people want me to read One Piece.
I mean, look, Seth, I personally would enjoy your nuanced and insightful mind grasping a whole. I'm sorry, I made the mistake of clicking on the trending tab because I saw Sarada was trending, and I
Huh.
basically just got flashed.
Oh
Oh.
no.
I
Oh.
was not
Oh.
mentally
Yeah.
prepared to like.
Yeah.
I am
You
so
guys talk
sorry.
about something. I gotta take a mental
Brain
lap real
bleach.
quick or something.
Okay. Okay.
So many
So
weirdos out there, man. Freak.
no.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
to
no.
go back
Unfortunately, rule
to
number one of anime manga trending, don't click.
to go back
Like,
to
I
Kenjaku
don't
for a moment. Like
there's a reason
for
I don't
me,
follow the My Hero topic on Twitter. Like, there's no way.
Oh, dude, it's
okay.
bad. Don't
It
don't.
is so bad on there.
So for me, like my issue with Kenjaku is he never really escaped the cloud of this would feel so much more impactful if this was actually ghetto.
Yep. It's part of why I did not really like him. It's like he kind of
It's like
built up to that reveal of like, oh well, like we think it might be ghetto, but wait, some things are off about him. It was never ghetto the whole time. It's like, well, is ghetto going to exert some kind of influence? Is there going to be some kind of closure or resolution that nope, no, you don't get it.
and then like we're ending the series apparently with Sukuna, which is like ordering a meal extra bland.
I I've been liking Sukuna more lately, I'll be honest. But I don't know if he's one of my favorite villains or anything. When people bring up, it's like, and you can't deny this though. People are asking, is like, oh, is Sukuna one of the most iconic villains of all time now? I'm like, yeah, he pretty much is.
Yeah.
I mean, Sukuna's not an interesting villain to me, but he is an entertaining villain, and there's
I'm
not
not
really
even
much
entertained
more
by
you
him.
can ask.
It's like he's just like a blank slate to me. It's like
I think Gege does I think Gege does narration very well. And
He's like a Disney villain.
yeah, and in a monologue, it's like, yeah, he's kind of like a Disney villain in some ways. It's like it's just he very much understands what stays with people, what's memorable to people. And so we can talk all day about like depth of character and whatnot, but like at the end of the day, people like being entertained. And Sukuna is probably the most entertaining character in that series right now, with Gojo out of there. So Yeah. As far as One Piece goes, I really liked how the pacifistas were put under. Okay, I don't want to spoil too much, but I like the whole thing with the pacifistas. I did see a couple leaks though. I'm very curious about what's happening next. I think certain arcs might be a little faster than people anticipate. We're definitely going to Elbaf next. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know how long that's gonna be. I don't know how long that's gonna be. I also think we might be heading into the final battle, and that so much is like. And keep in mind, this is One Piece time. So he does things pretty differently. We could move into the final battle in as little as like a year and a half, depending on how he does things.
Interesting.
Yeah. Um,
I
if you
think
do read
pacing wise, One Piece is a product of when it started, which was
dude,
like late.
If One Piece started today, it would go the way of Mama Yu Yu and it'd just be super rushed and end. Like there's no chance with there's no chance Oda's
It
long
took
form
100
style.
chapters to get to the Grand Line.
Yeah, if Oda ever does another manga after this, I don't know if it'll really take off. I just haven't seen much of him beyond the One Piece style, which is like very singular, you know. What
I
if
did enjoy the anime of that one shot he did, though. That was on Netflix.
what Monster?
Yeah.
I
I need to
keep meaning
watch
to watch it and just not doing it.
that. What have you thought of One Piece lately, Aniki?
I've been enjoying it. I agree. Like to me, the pacifista thing was one of the best like moments in the entire arc.
It was such a great payoff. It's like
Even if I don't fully like how some of that character's stuff was handled and how they've been utilized in other scenes, you know what I'm saying? Well,
oh
uh,
yeah, the Watsky influence.
yeah, the Watsky influence, we'll call it. But in general, I've liked Egghead a lot more. I thought it's been tighter. I feel like Otis played less here because I think Wano is a section of the story that he played around a lot. Like he really wanted to explore and do this like to a certain degree, Wano isn't for everyone. And when I say that, I mean like, and people go, oh, technically everybody writes the manga for the Japanese. No, like Wano is specifically a love letter for the Japanese audience with the way that a lot of it's structured and some of the extra steps that he took and the meandering that happens, references to old folk tales and all kinds of other stuff. Whereas Egghead,
It's even structured like an old style Japanese play, like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3.
whereas
You know,
Egghead is just for us. It's for everybody. It's once again, it's like this is less about writing a love letter, more about giving you a fucking cool story. And like I can appreciate the artistic decision and desire to make that love letter to a specific group of people and to like really honor your own culture, your background, whatever. Cool. I think the story suffered or the narrative was like weird in certain parts because of decisions that were made, like everything involving Big Mom in Act Two. I really hated the way Big Mom was handled in Act Two. In general, the way Big Mom is executed is so disappointing in a
Oda
lot of
with
sections of
female
the story.
characters is strictly like
It's a legitimate coin flip.
it's honestly not even coin flip. Coin flip, it's more like 60-40, gonna be
Yeah,
honest. The 40% is strong, but that other 60%, oh,
yeah.
uh,
But current Egghead, I've loved it. I I'm hoping that what we get is the recoup in Elbath. I don't want the Straw Hats to win here. I want them to leave. Uh, I
I
want them to
mean,
get.
from what I saw, they're probably gonna be forced to retreat.
Yeah, I'm hoping that this is about getting out, people getting out, leaving, and
Yeah. I mean the Buster call doesn't work anymore. So
yeah,
you need it's really the world government being like, well, all right, shit is serious. We gotta really press down now. And like I basically see kind of a three-way conflict here. It's between the world government, Blackbeard doing his thing, and basically Luffy having to more or less team up with the Revolutionary Army and his father. So you're gonna get this you're gonna get this huge mess in One Piece time fairly soon. And how long do you think Elbaf is gonna be?
I think Elbaf is going to be okay. This is going to sound weird, but I think it's going to exist at two extremes. It's either going to be like a nice little 30 chapter Zoe arc where it's just like lore, 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 regrouping with Law, regrouping with Kid, lore, lore, lore. Or it's going to be long as fuck, and we're going to get like our first actual, like, besides Udon, like actual training and all kinds of other stuff with the Straw Hats, learning from the Giants and all kinds of other stuff with lore, 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 and lots of flashbacks.
I honestly like I know he wants it to end in like 3 or 4 years at this point. I think he's probably going to stretch into 2030 at the rate he's going, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right. I feel like we've done our around the horns of multiple manga as well as video games.
Yeah.
We're slowly
So
becoming the church
actually,
of
I
media.
just
Yo,
Kingdom
speaking
Hearts all in
video
one
games,
collection.
Aniki, I was heartbroken when I heard you said Xbox, and then Monster Hunter was brought up. Do you know how much arm wrestling battles I could have beat you in if you were on PlayStation?
You would have gotten the easy clap low diff.
Low diff.
so I actually do need to head off because like I've got like a really bad headache because
Yeah. Do you want to give any final thoughts? Or you just want to say peace?
I really don't think I have anything else to say about the chapter other than Deku survived Truckun. Deku OP. So all right, sorry. I actually
You're good. You're good.
no, because I actually got hurt at work the other day and still recovering from that.
Oh damn.
Yeah. I torque wrench slipped and I kind of smacked myself in the above my right eyebrow and there was blood. So all right. So I'll see you guys around.
Damn, hope you get better, man.
Yeah,
Thanks.
relax.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, man. Wishing you the best.
Yeah, take care. Recover, man. Get some rest, but make sure you're taking medicine for your pain and whatnot. Coyote, you want to give some final thoughts here on My Hero Media in general, whatever you want to say?
My Hero Media. Overhaul fans were fucking hoed yet again, man. The amount of slander that came from this chapter for Overhaul fans is horrible. We're now relegated to read Destro's nose. Do you know how hard that is? We went from being Nagant's what is it? Nagant used to step on this man, okay? And that was a fine area we were at. And now we're a nose. We've been going downhill ever since, and I need Horikoshi to just let us get back up there. Bring Nagant back to the stepping stone, okay? We can be a stepping stone. Yeah, we're fine with that. As for the dad, hey man, he's about to give the nastiest high five of the century, but we're stopped, okay? Good for Nana for stopping it, but she could have, dabbed him up, to make the noise at least. Yeah, man, that's pretty much my thoughts. I love the chapter, pretty good chapter. Not much you can go over. I think Horikoshi is really in his bag when it comes to just I separately to two characters in one chapter where it's just very going into them instead of having multiple characters back to back give their thoughts and stuff. I think this is when he gets really in his bag when it's just kept to short cast. And yeah, man, that's all I gotta really say about my hero. I'm very excited for the future chapters because I think there's very much more interesting stuff to happen in this. And read Transformers. You'll get some of the most brutal shit you've ever read if you read Transformers, bro.
All right. And then Seth,
Yo.
your final thoughts, My Hero related or any media? Means we
Well,
gotta.
first off, thanks again for having me as always. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you.
Mhm. Let's see. So, pretty solid week for Shonen Jump all around, I thought. Even for Mama Yu Yu, I think if it does wrap up, this is kind of a pretty okay way to go about it, I think. But it does seem like it's coming to a close. I would actually like if it didn't, if it would be interesting if it didn't, but it probably will. As far as My Hero goes, though, this is a very solid chapter. An interesting follow up to last week. Last week was a very good build up chapter. I was really excited reading last week's chapter. This week, of course, still excited because it's still continuing. It's just like I didn't get to comment last time about how much I appreciate the use of side characters. It's pretty important to have people commenting and just you feel the weight of the moment when you see it through other people's eyes. Like the Kaminari moment, I thought was really good for his character, even if I would have liked like more action scenes from him. I think like it's really nice to see both him looking at Deku as a friend in a dangerous situation, before seeing him as a hero like All Might. Um, I think Deku still does get a reassuring moment later. I do, but I think it's nice that you just have a very well-rounded view of the fight overall. When it gets into this chapter, it's really nice to see Nana get to have this last moment with well, I presume last moment with her family. Obviously, there's nothing you can do to erase the past, but just being, but her being here to reach out and interfere in one last way, before things really get to it. I think that was good. That was a pretty good use of the ghost from the past in general. I kind of appreciate what Horikoshi did with each character. They didn't need to. I mean, some people are like, "Oh, I want like a backstory arc for all of them," and I'm like, no, I think it's okay for side characters to be side characters, and I think the point of these characters is that their stories have come and gone with, unfortunately, not the best of endings for themselves individually, but as a collective whole, they're working towards the brighter future, and it's really nice to see Deku bringing out the best in all of them too, because that's also happening. Just we've seen it with N, and we see it a bit here with Nana as well. So I'm just so satisfied with how Horikoshi has been handling this final arc, and I'm really looking forward to seeing exactly how this memory world with Shigaraki goes. Like that's already it's a great idea to have, and I do wonder, I really do wonder exactly where Deku will end up with his quirk situation. So overall, just a solid week, but there's really not much to say but see what Horikoshi's got cooking. Like I wish I could theorize more, but that's pretty hard. Everything seems to be in the hand of the author at this point. So I'm enjoying the ride though. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, Volk.
Yeah, we covered a lot of topics today. We talked about basically all our different interests. It's kind of fun when we get to do that. It's like, yes, it's nice to talk about MHA and that's how we start, but it's also fun to hang out and just chat about things. Chapter I think really speaks for itself, like Seth said. It's like there is a lot of analysis to be done, but it's also kind of evident. Like you already know what it's all saying at this point. Which is a testament to how much Horikoshi has built up to this moment specifically across 400 chapters of story and characterization for not just Deku and Shigaraki, but all the characters around them. It's really quite impressive how big this conflict has gotten, but at the same time, it really comes down to just these broken people on the inside lashing out and for being abandoned. And I think that's going to resolve itself very beautifully. It's probably well, not probably. It's definitely a tragic ending that awaits Shigaraki. He's a tragic character, but seeing Deku make that effort to reach out to him when it would have been so easy just to make a villain who was kind of heartless and callous and is like, oh, you don't understand the power of friendship, and be basically like almost any other action shown in series. To have Deku go the harder route and give him an enemy to be understood instead of just beaten down. That's a very powerful thing to write. It's a very difficult thing to write. But Horikoshi went that route, and I really enjoyed it. If you haven't yet, Kingdom Hearts, all-in-one collection. It's got everything you need. It's the whole Dark Seeker saga, I believe it's called. Kingdom Hearts 1,
Yes.
where all the different games in general follow the final mix order that arranges things, although you should take a couple deviations. I think Kingdom Hearts 2 should be played before 358.5 days.
Yes, it should. It should.
Yeah, but that's just me. I think it hits harder that way. Because it was the release order and it was kind of how Nomura was figuring things out. But anyways, there are a lot of great video game stories out there, so take charge with that. And I hope, maybe not as regularly, but I hope we get to chat about stuff like that after MHA is done. Because it's hard to find people who also are versed in all this stuff
Mhm.
in real life, because it's a specific branch of nerd culture that's like
So
a little
okay,
too.
sorry. What game was it? I'll look into it now. What game do you want to stick up?
Kingdom Hearts.
All right, Kingdom Hearts. I'll look into that.
The first game is a little clunky, but don't let
It's clunky. It is very clunky, y'all.
Don't let that discourage you. Play it on easy. Don't make it more of a headache than it needs to be.
Nah, I'm going for the platinum for that bitch.
Trophy hunter.
Look, platinum in Kingdom Hearts games requires effort, like
Yeah.
real effort. I respect people who do it because I almost never bother with platinum or
Hey, dude.
like going for it.
Yeah.
in
I
any
go for all
games.
platinums. I can do Monster Hunter's platinum soon.
Gotta respect the dedication. I platinumed Kingdom Hearts 2 and I
Sick.
platinumed base Kingdom Hearts 3, although I still have to beat Remind's DLC. So
Yep.
anyway, yeah, that's my piece. Great chapter, and I love talking about other stuff as well.
Thank you to everybody who came through and all the people who sit around and listen to us deviate from the chapter to talk about all the other interests in manga and video games and shows that we watch. Won't be here next week, but that's okay because it's my birthday, so I'll find some way to celebrate that with my family. Look at that sleeping baby and that wife playing Minecraft.
Oh, nice.
No,
Minecraft.
yeah, my wife plays Minecraft.
Dude, oh damn! What's her fucking base look like? Is she master builder?
I don't know all the Minecraft terms, but she's in a server with one of our friends that we play League with, and they have a whole realm, not
Yes.
server, my bad, she's correcting me. They turned their area into like this giant cherry tree forest. So there's a bunch of cherry blossoms.
Oh damn, that's sick.
And all this other stuff. So yeah, yesterday I watched her and one of our friends try to get her tombstone because she accidentally dug too deep and fell into a pool of lava. And they spent like 2 hours in the nether getting killed repeatedly by ghast and skeletons and lava pools. But yeah, appreciate everybody who came through. Thank you for the birthday wishes. I'm gonna hop off and maybe